Hello guys, welcome to Fictional Vortex. So in this video, we will see what if Naruto possessed the Gate of Babylon and the treasures of Gilgamesh Naruto x Rin Tohsaka, Fate series. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1. Treasures unbound. The ancient stone temple stood silent among towering trees, its weathered steps leading up to a moss-covered entrance. Naruto Uzumaki bounded up those steps 3 at a time, his orange and black jacket flapping behind him. Seriously, what's the big emergency? Naruto called over his shoulder. Granny Tsunade made it sound like the world was ending or something. Shikamaru Nara followed at a more measured pace, hands shoved deep in his pockets. All I know is that border patrols detected strange energy signatures coming from this place. Not chakra, something else. Naruto reached the entrance and peered into the darkness. Well, whatever it is, we'll figure it out. His confident grin flashed white in the shadows. You coming or what? What a drag, Shikamaru muttered, but he followed anyway. The interior was surprisingly intact, high ceilings supported by columns carved with spiraling patterns Naruto didn't recognize. Their footsteps echoed as they ventured deeper. This place gives me the creeps, Naruto said, voice bouncing off ancient walls. Hey, check this out. He pointed to inscriptions running along the wall, symbols that seemed to shift between different writing systems when viewed from different angles. Don't touch anything, Shikamaru warned, examining the markings. These aren't from any civilization I recognize. Yeah, I know the drill. Naruto waved dismissively, already moving ahead into a large circular chamber. In the center stood a simple stone pedestal bathed in light from a hole in the ceiling. Embedded in its surface was a small golden key, ornate and somehow untarnished by time. Naruto whistled. That looks important. Naruto, wait, Shikamaru began, but Naruto was already crossing the room. Relax. I'm just gonna look. As Naruto approached, the key seemed to pulse with golden light. He stopped, momentarily cautious. That's not normal. Shikamaru moved to his side. We should report back before doing anything else. The key pulsed again, more insistent now. Naruto felt a strange pull, like it was calling to him specifically. I don't think it's dangerous, he said, inching closer. It feels familiar somehow. Since when do you sense things better than a Nara? Shikamaru grabbed his arm. Seriously, Naruto, a tremor shook the temple, dust cascading from the ceiling. The golden light from the key intensified, forming a beam that shot directly at Naruto's chest. What the? Naruto staggered back, but the light followed, enveloping him. In that moment, his mind exploded with visions, thousands upon thousands of weapons floating in a golden void. Swords, spears, shields, artifacts of every description stretching endlessly. Each one unique, each one radiating power beyond anything he'd encountered. Just as suddenly, the visions vanished. The golden light retracted back to the key, which began to lift from the pedestal. Naruto, move. Shikamaru shouted, already forming hand signs. But Naruto stood transfixed as the key floated toward him, then gently pressed against his chest, before seeming to dissolve directly into him. The light faded. The tremors stopped. Naruto blinked, patting his chest where the key had disappeared. I'm fine. I think. He looked at Shikamaru's alarmed face and shrugged. I feel normal. Just saw some weird stuff for a second. What kind of weird stuff? Shikamaru asked, cautiously lowering his hands. Weapons. Tons of them. Like an entire arsenal just floating in gold light. Naruto turned back to the now empty pedestal. The key's gone. Did it just go inside me? Shikamaru's expression hardened. We're heading back to the village. Now. But we just got here. And you just absorbed some ancient artifact without knowing what it does. Shikamaru was already heading toward the exit. This mission just changed from reconnaissance to potential security risk. Naruto jogged to catch up. You're overreacting. I feel perfectly. A sudden wave of vertigo hit him, forcing him to his knees. The chamber seemed to warp around him, golden ripples distorting his vision. Naruto. Shikamaru was at his side instantly. I'm okay, Naruto gasped, the sensation already fading. Just got dizzy for a second. Before Shikamaru could respond, a deafening crack split the air outside the temple. They exchanged glances and raced for the entrance. The forest clearing outside was being torn open, literally. A jagged line of crackling energy hung in midair, spreading wider by the second to reveal swirling darkness beyond. What the hell is that? Naruto shouted over the noise. I have no idea. Shikamaru replied. But it started right after you touched that key. The tear widened suddenly, and someone, came hurtling through, crashing roughly to the ground 20 feet from them. The rift snapped shut behind them with a thunderclap of displaced air. Naruto squinted through the settling dust. A girl about his age pushed herself up on her elbows, long dark hair falling across a face twisted in confusion and alarm. She wore a red coat over a black skirt and thigh-high boots, clothes unlike anything he'd seen in the Five Nations. Hey, he called, stepping forward. Are you okay? The girl's head snapped toward him, blue eyes narrowing instantly. She sprang to her feet with surprising agility and raised her arm, revealing a glowing green gem between her fingers. Don't move, she commanded in accented but clear words. Where am I? What have you done? Naruto raised his hands placatingly. Whoa, take it easy. We didn't do anything. You just fell out of that, whatever that was. Liar. The gem glowed brighter. The dimensional breach was targeted. Someone pulled me here specifically. Shikamaru stepped forward carefully. We're not your enemies. I'm Shikamaru Nara, and this is Naruto Uzumaki. We're shinobi from the Hidden Leaf Village. The girl's expression flickered with confusion. Hidden Leaf, that's not possible. That's fictional. I assure you, we're quite real, Shikamaru said dryly. The girl's eyes darted between them, then to the surrounding forest. This can't be happening, she muttered. Then, louder, I'm Rin Tohsaka. If this is some elaborate trap, it's not a trap, Naruto interrupted. Look, we're just as confused as you are. First there was this weird key, then you popped out of nowhere. Key? Rin's attention sharpened. What key? Before Naruto could answer, another wave of vertigo hit him. This time, as he stumbled, something happened. The air in front of him rippled gold, and suddenly a large ornate shield materialized, clattering to the ground between them. All three stared at it in shock. What the hell? Naruto exclaimed, staring at his hands. Rin's eyes widened. That's impossible. She lowered the gem slightly. That was the gate of Babylon. You opened the gate of Babylon. The what now? The treasury of the King of Heroes, she said, voice hushed with disbelief. The golden key, was it shaped like an axe? Yeah, Naruto nodded. How did you know? Because that's the key of the king's law, Rin said, lowering her arm completely. It's supposed to be fictional even in my world. A noble phantasm belonging to Gilgamesh. Shikamaru sighed heavily. I think we all need to go back to the village and sort this out with the Hokage. Rin's posture remained tense. I'm not going anywhere until I understand what's happening. Naruto approached the shield he'd somehow summoned, poking it cautiously. It's real all right. He looked up at Rin. You know what this is? More than you do, apparently. Rin crossed her arms. The Gate of Babylon contains the original versions of every treasure humanity has ever created. The prototypes. From which all other noble phantasms derive. Cool. Naruto grinned. So I've got, like, magic weapons now? Rin pinched the bridge of her nose. It's not that simple. Those weapons belong to Gilgamesh, the king of heroes. If you've somehow acquired his treasury. She shook her head. That shouldn't be possible. Another tremor shook the ground beneath them. In the distance, trees began to sway violently. We need to move, Shikamaru said urgently. Something's happening, and we're too exposed here. Naruto nodded, then looked at Rin. You coming with us? Rin hesitated, then nodded curtly. For now. But only because you seem to be connected to whatever brought me here. As they prepared to leave, Naruto tried to pick up the shield but found it surprisingly heavy. How do I put this back, wherever it came from? Just will it away, Rin suggested. The gate responds to its master's thoughts. Naruto concentrated, and to his surprise, the shield dissolved into golden particles before vanishing completely. That is seriously cool, he muttered, grinning despite everything. They set off through the forest at a fast clip, Shikamaru taking point while Naruto stayed beside Rin. So, Naruto began conversationally, you said the hidden leaf is fictional in your world? Rin shot him a sidelong glance. There's a popular manga series about ninja with special powers. I never read it myself, but the name, Hidden Leaf Village, is from that. Weird, Naruto laughed. A manga about us? I wonder if I'm in it. Focus, Naruto, Shikamaru called back. We've got company. Ahead, the trees parted to reveal three figures blocking their path, humanoid but wrong somehow. Their skin was mottled gray, eyes glowing an unnatural blue, movements jerky and mechanical. Those aren't people, Rin said quietly, gem already glowing between her fingers again. They're constructs. Familiar types, but, altered. The constructs charged without warning, moving with unexpected speed. Naruto formed a familiar hand sign. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 3 copies of himself popped into existence, rushing to meet the attackers. Rin watched in astonishment. That's exactly like the manga. While his clones engaged, Naruto focused on the strange feeling in his chest, the memory of countless weapons. Concentrating, he thrust his hand forward. Golden ripples appeared in the air, and from them emerged 3 short swords that launched directly at the nearest construct. The blade struck with perfect accuracy, embedding deeply in its chest, throat, and forehead. The creature collapsed, dissolving into gray dust. Whoa, Naruto breathed, staring at his hand. Did you see that? Focus. Shikamaru shouted, his shadow stretching to capture another construct. Rin stepped forward, gem blazing. Gandr. A streak of crimson energy shot from her fingertips, striking the third construct squarely. It staggered but didn't fall. Stronger than regular familiars, she muttered, readying another shot. Naruto's remaining clones pinned a construct while he focused again. This time, a massive battle axe emerged from the golden portal, which he grabbed and swung with both hands. The construct split cleanly in 2 before dissolving like the first. With Shikamaru's shadow holding the last one immobile, Rin fired 3 more crimson shots in rapid succession, finally bringing it down. That was. Naruto started. Troublesome, Shikamaru finished, walking back to them. Those weren't any kind of shinobi I've ever seen. Because they're not shinobi, Rin said. They're familiar constructs, magical creations used as servants or guards. But they've been modified somehow. She turned to Naruto. And you just used the Gate of Babylon like you've had it for years. Naruto scratched the back of his head. I just thought about what I needed, and it showed up. That's not normal, Rin insisted. The gate contains thousands of noble phantasms. You shouldn't be able to select specific ones without extensive knowledge of the treasury. Maybe I'm just a natural. Naruto suggested. With a grin. Rin rolled her eyes. Or maybe something else is going on. Shikamaru interjected, we can figure it out once we're back in the village. If those things are connected to the dimensional tear, there might be more coming. They resumed their journey, moving even faster than before. As they traveled, Naruto peppered Rin with questions about her world, while she reluctantly answered with minimal detail. So you're a magus? Like, you do actual magic? It's magecraft, not magic, Rin corrected. True magic is different. And yes, my family has practiced magecraft for generations. That's like our Kekkei Genkai, Naruto said. Special abilities passed down through families. Not quite the same, Rin replied. Anyone can learn magecraft with the proper training, though some families have greater natural aptitude. Their conversation was cut short as they reached the edge of the forest, the walls of Konoha visible in the distance. Finally, Shikamaru sighed. Now we just need to explain to Lady Tsunade why we're bringing back a girl from another dimension and why Naruto can suddenly pull legendary weapons out of thin air. She's gonna flip, Naruto said cheerfully. As they approached the village gates, Rin slowed, taking in the massive walls and the carved faces on the mountain beyond. It's really real, she murmured, looking genuinely lost for the first time. But how? Naruto placed a hand on her shoulder. Hey, we'll figure this out, okay? Granny Tsunade is the best Hokage ever, well, until I take the job someday. If anyone can help get you home, it's her. Rin shrugged off his hand but nodded. I hope you're right. The guards at the gate recognized Shikamaru and Naruto immediately, though they eyed Rin with suspicion. She's with us, Naruto said firmly. Mission related. We need to see the Hokage right away. The guards exchanged glances but waved them through. As they walked through the streets of Konoha, Rin couldn't help staring at everything, the architecture, the people in their distinctive clothing, the subtle and not-so-subtle displays of chakra use in everyday life. It's just like the illustrations, she said quietly. Down to the smallest details. Naruto watched her with growing curiosity. So in your world, we're just characters in a story? That's pretty weird to think about. I told you, I never read it myself, Rin replied. But yes, as far as I know, the elemental nations and everything in them are fictional where I come from. And I'm guessing magical treasuries and people like Gilgamesh are fictional in your world too? Shikamaru asked. Rin nodded. The Gate of Babylon belongs to the Epic of Gilgamesh, the oldest written story in human history. But in my world, it manifests during something called the Holy Grail War when heroes from history are summoned to fight. Well, something's definitely not adding up, Shikamaru concluded as they reached the Hokage Tower. Let's see what Lady Tsunade makes of all this. They were ushered into the Hokage's office immediately, where Tsunade sat behind her desk, amber eyes sharp with interest. That was quick, she noted, before her gaze settled on Rin. And who's this? That's complicated, Shikamaru began. Over the next 20 minutes, they explained everything that had happened, the temple, the key, Naruto's new ability, and Rin's unexpected arrival. Tsunade listened without interruption, fingers steepled in front of her face. Show me, she said finally, looking at Naruto. Naruto nodded and concentrated. The golden ripples appeared beside him, and from them he drew a gleaming sword with intricate engravings along the blade. Tsunade's eyes widened slightly. And you say this is connected to the energy signatures we detected? It has to be, Shikamaru confirmed. The timing is too perfect to be coincidence. Tsunade turned her attention to Rin. And you believe you were brought here deliberately? By whom? I don't know, Rin admitted. I was conducting an experiment with gem magecraft when the dimensional breach opened. It felt targeted. Like something reached specifically for me. Or for something you possess, Tsunade suggested. Rin's hand moved unconsciously to her coat pocket. Possibly. What about those construct things that attacked us? Naruto asked. They seem to know exactly where to find us. I've already dispatched ANBU to investigate the temple and surrounding area, Tsunade said. Until we know more, Miss Tohsaka will remain in Konoha under supervision. I'm not a prisoner, Rin said sharply. No, you're not, Tsunade agreed. But you're a foreign entity with unknown abilities in my village during what appears to be a dimensional crisis. Surely you understand my caution. Rin couldn't argue with that logic. Fine. But I need resources to research a way back to my world. You'll have them, Tsunade promised. In exchange for information about this gate of Babylon and whatever else you know that might be relevant. She looked at Naruto. As for you, you'll need to learn to control this new ability. Quickly. No problem, Naruto said confidently. I've already got the hang of the basics. As if to demonstrate, he willed the sword to vanish, which it did, only for a massive war hammer to suddenly appear in its place, crashing through Tsunade's desk. Sorry. Sorry. Naruto yelped, frantically trying to make it disappear too. I didn't mean to do that. Tsunade closed her eyes, visibly counting to 10. Clearly, you need practice. Shikamaru sighed. I'll help him train. And I can provide guidance about the gate itself, Rin offered, surprising herself. If it really is the treasury of the King of Heroes, using it improperly could be catastrophic. Good, Tsunade said, standing up from behind her ruined desk. You'll work together. Naruto, Rin will stay with you until we arrange permanent accommodations. What? Rin and Naruto exclaimed simultaneously. It makes the most sense, Tsunade explained. You're connected to whatever's happening, and if there's another attack, you should be together. Plus, Naruto has space in his apartment. But, Rin began. This isn't negotiable, Tsunade said firmly. Consider it protective custody if that makes you feel better. Naruto looked at Rin apologetically. My place isn't that bad. I cleaned last week. I think. Rin sighed in defeat. Fine. But only until we figure this out. As they left the Hokage Tower, the sun was setting over Konoha, bathing everything in golden light. For Rin, the reality of her situation was finally sinking in. She was trapped in what should have been a fictional world, with no immediate way home. Hey, Naruto said, noticing her expression. It'll be okay. We'll figure this out together. She met his gaze, struck by the genuine sincerity in his blue eyes. I suppose we will. Food first, Shikamaru suggested. We can start fresh tomorrow. Ichiraku ramen. Naruto pumped his fist excitedly. You'll love it, Rin. Best ramen in the 5 nations. Despite everything, Rin found herself smiling slightly at his enthusiasm. Lead the way, then. Ichiraku ramen was exactly as welcoming as Naruto had promised. Tsuchi and Ayam greeted them warmly, not even blinking at Rin's unusual appearance. The usual, Naruto? Tsuchi asked, already preparing a bowl. You bet. And whatever Rin wants, it's on me. That's surprisingly generous, Rin said. Naruto grinned. Hey, you're helping me figure out this gate thing. Plus, you're stuck in a strange world. Least I can do is buy you dinner. Rin ordered a simple miso ramen, watching with fascination as Tsuchi prepared it with practiced efficiency. So, Naruto said between slurps of his first bowl, in your world, is this gate thing really that big a deal? The Gate of Babylon is one of the most powerful noble phantasms in existence, Rin explained, testing her own ramen cautiously before taking a larger bite. It contains the prototypes of every treasure humanity has created, weapons, artifacts, potions, everything. Some with powers that defy imagination. Sweet. Naruto's eyes lit up. So I could pull out, like, anything. Theoretically, Rin nodded. But without knowing what's in there, you'd be guessing blindly. The original user, Gilgamesh, had perfect knowledge of every item in his treasury. I saw them, Naruto said more quietly. When the key merged with me. Thousands of weapons, stretching forever. I can almost feel them now, like they're waiting just out of sight. Rin put down her chopsticks, suddenly serious. That's not normal. The gate doesn't transfer knowledge of its contents. Something else is happening here. Shikamaru, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. Could it be related to Naruto's unique situation? Rin looked confused, but Naruto tensed. You mean the Nine Tails? Nine Tails? Rin repeated. Naruto hesitated, then sighed. Yeah, I guess if our world is a manga and yours, you might know anyway. I'm the Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed fox. Understanding dawned on Rin's face. You have a powerful entity sealed inside you. That could definitely affect how the gate manifests. Great, Naruto muttered. One more complication. Actually, Rin said thoughtfully, it might be helping you. The Nine Tails could be acting as a buffer, allowing you to access the gate without the normal requirements. Or it could blow up in our faces, Shikamaru pointed out. That too, Rin admitted. They finished their meal in contemplative silence, each lost in their own thoughts about the strange situation they found themselves in. As they were leaving Ichiraku, a sudden explosion rocked the village, coming from the direction of the main gate. What now? Naruto groaned, already running toward the disturbance with Rin and Shikamaru close behind. They arrived to find chaos. 3 more of the strange constructs, larger than the ones they'd encountered in the forest, were smashing through Konoha's defenses. Several ninja were already engaging them, but their attacks seemed to have minimal effect. They're after us, Rin said with certainty. Or more specifically, after you and the gate. Naruto cracked his knuckles. Then let's give them what they want. He formed shadow clones that charged into battle, distracting the constructs while he focused on the gate. This time, he tried to be more specific, remembering a particularly wicked-looking spear he'd glimpsed in his vision. The golden ripples appeared, larger than before, and from them emerged exactly the weapon he'd imagined, a crimson spear with barbed edges that hummed with palpable energy. Gibalg, Rin whispered in recognition. The spear of mortal pain. Naruto hefted it, surprised by how naturally it fit in his hands. Anything I should know before using this? It's cursed to always pierce the heart of its target, Rin said quickly. But it requires special activation. Naruto was already charging, the spear held before him. As he approached the nearest construct, the weapon began to glow red, seemingly of its own accord. Gibalg! Naruto shouted instinctively, thrusting the spear forward. What happened next defied physics. The spear's path bent unnaturally, curving around the construct's defenses to strike directly at its center mass. Upon impact, the spear erupted with thorny protrusions inside the creature, shredding it from within. Naruto pulled the weapon free, watching in amazement as the construct collapsed into dust. That was awesome, he exclaimed, turning to the next enemy. Meanwhile, Shikamaru had captured another construct with his shadow technique, holding it in place while Rin bombarded it with gemstone magecraft. Each colored blast struck with increasing effect until the creature's outer shell cracked, revealing a pulsing core within. There! Rin called. That's its weak point. One of Naruto's clones leapt into the air, forming a swirling ball of chakra in his palm. Rasengan. The attack drilled directly into the exposed core, causing the entire construct to explode in a shower of gray particles. The third construct, seeing its companions defeated, suddenly stopped attacking. Its glowing eyes fixed on Naruto, or more specifically, on the spear he held. Target confirmed, it said in a voice like grinding metal. Primary objective, acquisition of the key of the King's Law and elimination of the vessel. Who sent you? Rin demanded, stepping forward. The construct's head swiveled toward her. Secondary objective, retrieval of the Tohsaka heir. Master Kaizo will be pleased. Kaizo? Rin repeated, the name clearly unfamiliar to her. The construct made no further comment, instead charging directly at Naruto with renewed speed. Its arms transformed into blade-like appendages that sliced through the air with deadly precision. Naruto dodged the first attacks, but the creature was learning, predicting his movements with increasing accuracy. A glancing blow caught his shoulder, tearing through his jacket and drawing blood. "Naruto!" Rin shouted, concern evident in her voice. "I'm fine," he called back, creating more shadow clones to confuse his attacker. While the clones engaged the construct, Naruto concentrated again on the gate. This time, he sought something defensive, a shield he'd glimpsed that seemed particularly resilient. The golden ripples appeared, and from them emerged a massive round shield with concentric circular patterns. The moment Naruto grasped it, he somehow knew its name. "Ro Ajax," he murmured, raising it just as the construct broke through his clone defense. The creature's bladed arm struck the shield with tremendous force, but instead of breaking through, it rebounded as 7 translucent layers of energy bloomed from the shield's surface, each absorbing part of the impact. The construct staggered back, its arm damaged from the recoil. Naruto saw his opening and dismissed the shield, immediately summoning a new weapon, a golden axe with intricate engravings. "Take this," he shouted, bringing the axe down with all his strength. The weapon cleaved through the construct as if it were paper, splitting it from top to bottom. As the two halves fell away, dissolving into dust, Naruto noticed something small and metallic among the remains, a coin-sized disc with unfamiliar markings. Rin hurried over and carefully picked it up using a handkerchief from her pocket. "This is a tracking device," she said after examining it. "Magically enhanced. That's how they found us." "But who's this Kaizo person?" Shikamaru asked, joining them. "And why is he after both of you?" "I've never heard the name before," Rin admitted. "But whoever he is, he knows about both my world and yours, and he has access to extremely advanced magecraft." Naruto dismissed the axe, which dissolved back into golden particles. "At least we know these things can be beaten." "Yes, but they'll keep coming," Rin warned. "And probably in greater numbers." By now, other Konoha shinobi had gathered around them, including Sakura Haruno, who immediately noticed Naruto's injured shoulder. "Let me see that," she demanded, already preparing a medical jutsu. While Sakura treated his wound, Naruto filled her in on the situation, or at least the abbreviated version. "So you've got some kind of weapon storage technique now?" Sakura asked skeptically. "It's called the Gate of Babylon," Naruto explained proudly. "And it's got like, every weapon ever made." Sakura looked at Rin. "And you're from another dimension? One where we're all manga characters?" Rin nodded uncomfortably. "It seems that way." "That's, actually not the strangest thing I've heard this month," Sakura admitted. "But these constructs are concerning. Lady Tsunade will want to know about this attack immediately." "We'll report to her in the morning," Shikamaru decided. "Right now, we all need rest. It's been a long day." No one could argue with that. After ensuring the village defenses were reinforced, they went their separate ways, except for Naruto and Rin, who headed toward his apartment together. "Sorry about the mess," Naruto said as he unlocked his door. "I wasn't expecting company." To Rin's surprise, the apartment was relatively clean, small but comfortable, with simple furnishings and a few personal touches that spoke of Naruto's personality. "It's fine," she said, stepping inside. "Better than sleeping on the street." Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. "You can take the bed. I'll use the couch." "That's considerate of you," Rin said, genuine surprise in her voice. "Hey, I'm not a total savage," Naruto replied with a grin. "There should be clean towels in the bathroom if you want to wash up." Rin nodded gratefully and headed to the bathroom, while Naruto gathered extra blankets for himself. When she emerged later, hair damp and wearing one of Naruto's t-shirts as a makeshift nightgown, her own clothes carefully washed and hanging to dry, she found him sitting at the small kitchen table, staring intently at his palm. "What are you doing?" she asked. Naruto looked up. "Trying to figure out how this gate thing works." "I can feel it," right here. He tapped his chest. Like it's part of me now. The original gate exists in a separate dimension, Rin explained, sitting across from him. It's not physically inside you. You're just connected to it. So all those weapons are real? They actually exist somewhere? Rin nodded. According to legend, Gilgamesh collected the original version of every treasure humanity would ever create. They're the prototypes from which all other versions derive. Naruto whistled. No wonder those construct things are after it. But why me? And why you? That's what we need to find out, Rin said. She hesitated, then added, thank you, by the way. For letting me stay here. And for fighting those things earlier. Naruto waved it off. No big deal. We're in this together now, right? Besides, I never turn my back on someone who needs help. Rin studied him thoughtfully. You're exactly like they described you in the stories. Is that good or bad? Naruto asked with a half-smile. Depends on the day, I suppose, Rin replied, returning the smile slightly. They sat in companionable silence for a moment before Naruto yawned widely. We should get some sleep, Rin suggested. Tomorrow will probably be just as chaotic as today. Probably, Naruto agreed, standing up. Good night, Rin. Good night, Naruto. As Rin settled into Naruto's bed, surrounded by the unfamiliar scents and sounds of a world that shouldn't exist, she found herself pondering the strange turns her life had taken. Just this morning, she'd been in her workshop in Fuyuki City, working on a routine gem experiment. Now she was in the Naruto universe, helping its protagonist figure out how to use Gilgamesh's treasury. It was absurd. Impossible. And yet undeniably real. Meanwhile, Naruto lay on his couch, hands behind his head, staring at the ceiling. Inside him, he could feel the nine tails stirring, clearly agitated by the day's events. What's got you so worked up, furball? Naruto muttered internally. To his surprise, the fox responded. That treasury you've connected to, it contains weapons that could harm even beings like me. Be careful, brat. That was unexpected. The Nine Tails rarely offered warnings or advice. If it was concerned about the Gate of Babylon, that only emphasized how powerful these new abilities might be. With that sobering thought, Naruto closed his eyes and tried to sleep. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but also new opportunities to master this strange power that had chosen him. On the outskirts of the Land of Fire, a figure stood atop a cliff overlooking the distant lights of Konoha. Tall and elegant in a flowing white coat, with long silver hair that moved in the night breeze, Kaizo Morimoto smiled as he absorbed the data from his fallen constructs. So the key has chosen a vessel, he murmured. And the Tohsaka girl is with him. How convenient. Beside him, a much larger construct, this one almost human in appearance save for its metallic skin, awaited instructions. Shall I retrieve them, master? It asked in a voice far smoother than its predecessors. No, Akira, Kaizo replied, still smiling. Let them grow accustomed to each other. Let the vessel learn to use the gate. It will save us considerable effort in the long run. And if they become too proficient? Too dangerous. Kaizo turned, his eyes gleaming with an unnatural golden light. They cannot master what they do not understand. And they understand so very little. He opened his palm, revealing a small model of the temple where Naruto had found the key. The ritual has already begun. The boundaries between worlds grow thinner by the day. Soon, the separation will collapse entirely. And then? Akira prompted. Kaizo closed his fingers around the model, crushing it to dust. And then we become whole again. Back in Konoha, as dawn approached, both Naruto and Rin awoke simultaneously, their eyes flying open as they felt a strange pulse of energy pass through them. For a brief moment, the air shimmered with golden light, then returned to normal. Something had changed. The connection between them, and to the Gate of Babylon, had somehow strengthened during the night. And somewhere beyond their understanding, ancient gears had begun to turn, setting in motion events that would test them both in ways neither could imagine. Naruto sat up, rubbing his chest where the key had disappeared. "Did you feel that?" From the bedroom, Rin's voice called back, "Yes. Something's happening. The dimensional boundaries are weakening." And so began their first full day together in a world where the impossible had become merely improbable, and the improbable was quickly becoming routine. The training ground lay empty in the early morning light, dew still clinging to the grass. Naruto stood at its center, eyes closed, concentrating on the strange energy he could feel flowing through him. Rin watched from the sidelines, arms crossed. "Remember, the gate isn't just a weapon storage. Each item has its own history, its own power. You need to feel that connection." "I'm trying," Naruto replied, frustration evident in his voice. "But there's so many of them." After their strange awakening, they'd decided to start training immediately. Tsunade had assigned them Training Ground 11, remote enough for privacy but close enough to the village for security. "Focus on one weapon," Rin suggested. "Something simple to start with." Naruto nodded and concentrated. The golden ripples appeared in the air before him, smaller than previous manifestations but more stable. From the portal emerged a simple short sword with a bronze hilt. Naruto grasped it, feeling its perfect balance. "Good," Rin nodded approvingly. "Now try to sense its properties. What makes it special?" Naruto closed his eyes again, focusing on the weapon in his hand. "It never dulls," he said slowly, the knowledge somehow rising from somewhere deep within. "And it can cut through chakra." "Interesting," Rin said, stepping closer to examine the blade. "That would be extremely valuable against certain jutsu." "There's more," Naruto continued, eyes still closed. "It belonged to someone called Ajax. During something called the Trojan War." Rin's eyebrows rose. "That's exactly right. It's the short sword of Ajax the Greater, known for its perfect edge." Naruto opened his eyes, grinning. "See? Told you I was getting the hang of this." "Don't get overconfident," Rin warned. "Let's try something more challenging. Can you summon a specific weapon if I name it?" "I can try." "Summon Durandal." Naruto concentrated, searching through the mental catalog he could almost access. The golden ripples appeared again, and from them emerged a magnificent sword with a jeweled hilt and inscriptions along the blade. "Durandal," Naruto announced, holding it up. "The peerless sword. Used by Roland, one of 12 paladins. It can cut through anything, and it never loses its edge no matter how much it's used." Rin looked genuinely impressed. "That's correct. Your connection to the gate is deepening." Naruto beamed at the praise, then switched tactics. "Let me try something else." Before Rin could respond, he dismissed Durandal and concentrated again. This time, multiple golden ripples appeared around him, and from each emerged a different weapon, swords, spears, axes, all hovering in the air awaiting his command. "Naruto, wait, too late." With a gesture, Naruto sent the weapons flying toward the training posts. Most struck their targets perfectly, embedding deeply into the wood. But several veered off course, one narrowly missing Rin's head before impaling a tree behind her. "Sorry." Naruto called, hurriedly dismissing the remaining weapons. Rin stalked over to him, blue eyes flashing with anger. "This isn't a game. Those aren't just weapons, they're noble phantasms. Each one has powers that could level this entire training ground if misused." "I was just testing without understanding is how people get killed," Rin snapped. "The Gate of Babylon isn't a toy. It's one of the most powerful treasuries in existence, and you're treating it like a kunai throwing practice." Naruto's expression sobered. "You're right. I got carried away." Rin sighed, anger fading as quickly as it had appeared. "Look, I know this is exciting. But we need to be methodical. Start with individual weapons, learn their properties, then work up to more complex manifestations. Naruto nodded, genuinely contrite. Okay, let's do it your way. For the next several hours, they worked through a system Rin devised. Naruto would summon a single weapon, describe its properties and history, then demonstrate its basic use before moving on to the next. To both their surprise, Naruto showed an uncanny ability to identify not just the weapons but their complete histories and abilities, as if the knowledge was being downloaded directly into his mind upon summoning them. It must be the Nine Tails, Rin theorized during a break. Its chakra is enhancing your connection to the gate somehow. Naruto took a drink from his water bottle. The furball hasn't said much about it. Just warned me to be careful. It's right, Rin said, wiping sweat from her forehead. Some of those weapons could destroy entire cities if fully activated. Before Naruto could respond, a voice called from the edge of the training ground. There you are. They turned to see Sakura approaching, a scroll in her hand. Lady Tsunade wants to see you both immediately. The ANBU finished investigating that temple. They exchanged glances and quickly gathered their things. Whatever the ANBU had discovered, it must be significant for Tsunade to summon them so urgently. As they walked back to the village, Sakura eyed the weapons still embedded in various training posts. Making progress with your new ability? You could say that, Naruto replied with a small smile. I can pull out specific weapons now and even know their histories. Impressive, Sakura said, sounding genuinely pleased. We might need that advantage soon. There've been reports of more of those construct things appearing throughout the land of fire. Always in pairs or trios, always searching for something. Or someone, Rin added quietly. Sakura nodded. That's what Lady Tsunade thinks too. They're hunting you too. The Hokage's office was crowded when they arrived. Tsunade sat behind her, replaced, desk, with Shizune at her side. Shikamaru, Kakashi, and several ANBU officers were also present, gathered around a large map spread across the table. Good, you're here, Tsunade said as they entered. We've made some discoveries you need to know about. One of the ANBU stepped forward, placing several photographs on the desk. They showed the interior of the temple, focusing on inscriptions that hadn't been visible during Naruto and Shikamaru's initial visit. These writings are in an ancient script predating the founding of the Five Nations, the ANBU explained. We've only managed to translate portions, but what we found is concerning. Tsunade nodded for them to continue. The temple was built to contain something called the Divided God, a being of immense power that supposedly existed in multiple realities simultaneously. According to the inscriptions, this entity was torn apart in a great conflict, with pieces of it scattered across different dimensions. Rin leaned forward, studying the photographs intently. That would explain the dimensional breaches. Someone is trying to reunite these fragments. Precisely, Tsunade confirmed. And we believe this Kaizo person the constructs mentioned is behind it. But why target us specifically? Naruto asked. What's the connection to the Gate of Babylon? Kakashi spoke up for the first time. The inscriptions mention a golden key that could unlock the pathways between worlds. Sound familiar? Naruto's hand moved unconsciously to his chest. The key of the king's law. But it chose me. Why? Perhaps not by chance, another ANBU suggested. The temple inscriptions refer to a vessel of sacrifice that would be needed to complete the reunification ritual. A heavy silence fell over the room as the implications sank in. So this Kaizo guy wants to use me as some kind of sacrifice? Naruto finally asked. It appears that way, Tsunade confirmed grimly. Which is why you'll be under ANBU protection from now on. With all due respect, Lady Tsunade, Rin interjected, ANBU protection won't be enough. These constructs are getting stronger with each encounter. And if Kaizo is who I think he might be, he'll have far worse waiting. And who exactly do you think he is? Tsunade asked. Rin hesitated. In my world, there are legends of magi who achieved a form of immortality by splitting their consciousness across multiple realities. It was theoretical, considered impossible, but if someone actually succeeded, they'd exist in both our worlds, Shikamaru finished, understanding dawning on his face. With access to both chakra and magecraft. And knowledge of both the Gate of Babylon and the Jinchuriki, Kakashi added. Naruto crossed his arms. So what do we do? I'm not hiding while this guy picks apart the village looking for me. No one's suggesting you hide, Tsunade assured him. But we need to be smart about this. If Kaizo wants both you and the gate, we can use that to our advantage. You mean as bait? Sakura asked, clearly unhappy with the idea. As a controlled engagement, Tsunade clarified. On our terms, with proper preparation. I can help with that, Rin offered. I've been analyzing the remains of those constructs. They're using a combination of magecraft and something similar to your chakra puppetry. If I can develop a countermeasure, do it, Tsunade nodded. Work with our research division. They'll provide whatever you need. In the meantime, Kakashi said, turning to Naruto, you need to continue mastering the gate. If these weapons are as powerful as Rin says, they could be our best defense. And offense, Naruto added with a determined grin. The meeting concluded with assignments for everyone present. As they filed out of the office, Naruto pulled Rin aside. Hey, you okay? You seem worried. Rin's expression was uncharacteristically vulnerable. If this Kaizo is who I suspect, a magus existing across dimensions, then he's incredibly dangerous. In my world, such beings are considered on par with true ancestors or even servants. I don't know what those are, Naruto admitted, but we've faced tough enemies before. We'll figure this out together. Rin studied his face, searching for any sign of doubt and finding none. His confidence was either admirable or foolish, she hadn't decided which yet. Your optimism is, not entirely unwelcome, she finally said. Naruto grinned. That's Rin speak for, thanks for cheering me up, right? Despite herself, Rin smiled slightly. Don't push it, Uzumaki. They headed toward the research division, unaware that high above Konoha, perched on the carved face of the fourth Hokage, a small metallic orb watched their every move, recording, analyzing, and transmitting data back to its creator. Kaizo smiled as the information flowed into his consciousness. The vessel was growing stronger, the gate responding to him more readily than anticipated. And the Tohsaka girl, her adaptation to this world's energies was progressing nicely. Soon, he murmured, fingers dancing over a complex array of magical circuits embedded in his palm. Very soon. Behind him, a shimmering portal began to form, not golden like the Gate of Babylon, but silver with traces of red chakra swirling within. As it stabilized, a figure stepped through, another construct, but far more advanced than those that had attacked previously. This one was female in appearance, with flowing black hair and eyes that shifted between blue and gold. She moved with perfect grace, her skin the color of polished porcelain rather than the dull gray of her predecessors. Master, she acknowledged, kneeling before Kaizo. Rise, Miyuki, he commanded. Your siblings have failed in their reconnaissance. They were primitive models, Miyuki replied, her voice melodic and precise. I am something else entirely. Indeed you are. Kaizo smiled, placing a hand on her shoulder. You are the culmination of two worlds' knowledge, magecraft and chakra in perfect harmony. What would you have me do, master? Kaizo turned back toward the village below. Observe for now. Learn their patterns, their defenses. When the time is right, you will approach them, as a friend. Miyuki's perfect features arranged themselves into a flawless expression of concern. The Tohsaka girl will recognize me for what I am. Not if you're properly shielded, Kaizo assured her, pressing a small gem into her palm. This contains a fragment of a true human soul. It will mask your nature from all but the most direct examination. Miyuki closed her fingers around the gem, which seemed to sink into her skin, disappearing entirely. A warm glow briefly suffused her body before fading. Perfect, Kaizo nodded in satisfaction. Now go. Become their ally. Gain their trust. And when they are most vulnerable, I will bring you the key and the Tohsaka heir, Miyuki finished. Alive and unharmed, Kaizo emphasized. I need them both intact for the final ritual. As Miyuki departed, transforming her appearance into that of an ordinary village girl, Kaizo turned his attention to a small golden object in his hand, a perfect miniature replica of the key of the king's law. The cycle nears completion, he murmured, watching as tiny cracks spread across its surface. The division ends. The god will be whole once more. And deep beneath the temple where Naruto had found the original key, something ancient stirred in its long slumber, sensing that after countless centuries, the time of awakening was finally approaching. The countdown to unification had begun. The next few days passed in a blur of training, research, and planning. Naruto's control over the Gate of Babylon improved dramatically, while Rin made significant progress analyzing the construct remains and developing potential countermeasures. They fell into a rhythm together, dividing their time between the training grounds and the research division. Despite their initial friction, they worked surprisingly well as a team, Naruto's instinctive approach balancing Rin's methodical analysis. Try summoning multiple weapons of the same type, Rin suggested during one training session. Start with something simple, like kunai. Naruto nodded and concentrated. The golden ripples appeared, and from them emerged a dozen ornate kunai, each floating in the air around him. Good, Rin approved. Now send them at the targets, but control their trajectory individually. With a gesture, Naruto directed the kunai toward various targets. This time, they moved with precision, striking exactly where he intended. I'm getting better at this, he grinned, dismissing the weapons. You are, Rin acknowledged. But you're still relying too much on brute force. The true power of the gate isn't just in the weapons themselves, but in using the right tool at the right moment. Naruto crossed his arms. Like what? Summon Vajra. Concentrating, Naruto opened the gate and withdrew what appeared to be a small golden bolt shaped like a lightning rod. Vajra, he said, the knowledge flowing into him. The indestructible lightning weapon of Indra. Now channel your wind chakra through it, Rin instructed. Naruto raised an eyebrow but did as she suggested. The moment his chakra touched the ancient weapon, it began to glow, electricity crackling along its length. Now throw it at that boulder, Rin pointed to a massive rock at the edge of the training ground. Naruto hurled the Vajra with all his strength. When it struck the boulder, instead of simply embedding itself or bouncing off, it released a massive lightning explosion that reduced the entire formation to rubble. Holy crap! Naruto exclaimed as the dust settled. That was amazing. That's what I mean by the right tool, Rin said, satisfaction evident in her voice. Vajra resonates with lightning, but you added wind chakra, which enhances lightning effects. The combination multiplied its power tenfold. Naruto stared at his hands in wonder. So I can combine the noble phantasms with chakra nature. Precisely, Rin nodded. Each weapon has its own affinity. Learning those affinities and how they interact with your chakra will make you far more effective than just pulling out the biggest weapon you can find. As they continued training, neither noticed the young woman watching from the edge of the forest, Miyuki, perfectly disguised as a village civilian, observing their every move with calculating eyes. Later that day, Naruto and Rin were summoned to the Hokage's office once again. This time, they found Tsunade looking more concerned than ever. We've lost contact with 3 border outposts, she announced without preamble. All in the direction of that temple. Kaizo's making his move, Shikamaru said from his position by the window. It seems that way, Tsunade agreed. We've also detected multiple dimensional fluctuations throughout the Land of Fire. Whatever ritual he's performing, it's accelerating. We need to stop him before he completes it, Naruto declared. Agreed, but how? Tsunade asked. We still don't know exactly where he is or what the final stage of his plan entails. Rin stepped forward. I might have an idea about that. She placed a small crystal on Tsunade's desk, one of the gems from her pocket, now glowing with an inner light. I've been using this to track the dimensional energy. It's not precise, but it shows a pattern. The gem projected a map of the land of fire, with several points glowing brightly. At the center was the temple where Naruto had found the key. These are ritual sites, Rin explained. 7 in total, forming a perfect circle around the main temple. Based on the energy readings, Kaizo has already activated 4 of them. So we need to protect the remaining 3, Kakashi concluded, having arrived silently during the explanation. No, Rin shook her head. We need to disrupt the ones he's already activated. Breaking the circle will prevent the ritual's completion. How do we do that? Naruto asked. Rin hesitated. I'm not entirely sure yet. The energies involved are complex, a mixture of magecraft and chakra unlike anything I've seen before. But I'm working on a counter-ritual that might destabilize the activated sites. Time frame? Tsunade asked. 3 days, maybe 4. Tsunade frowned. Too long. At the current rate, Kaizo will have activated all sites within 2 days. Then we need to slow him down, Naruto declared. Hit him directly, disrupt his operations. Risky, Kakashi cautioned. If he's as powerful as we suspect, a direct confrontation could be exactly what he wants. Not if we're smart about it, Shikamaru interjected. A targeted strike at one of the unactivated sites might force him to divert resources to defend it. Or speed up his timeline, Rin countered. The debate continued for several minutes, with various strategies proposed and dismissed. Finally, Tsunade raised a hand for silence. Here's what we'll do, she decided. Naruto and Rin will lead a team to this site. She pointed to the nearest unactivated point on the map. Your mission is to secure the location and prevent its activation. Meanwhile, Kakashi will lead a second team to gather intelligence on the already activated sites. Shikamaru, I want you coordinating both teams from here. What about the village defenses? Sakura asked. I've already sent word to our allies in the sand, Tsunade replied. Gaara is sending reinforcements. Between them and our own ANBU, we should be able to hold off any direct assault. When do we leave? Naruto asked. Dawn tomorrow, Tsunade replied. Spend today preparing. You'll be taking Sakura, Sai, and 2 ANBU operatives with you. As they left the Hokage Tower, Naruto noticed Rin looking troubled. Something wrong with the plan? He asked. Not exactly, she replied. I just can't shake the feeling that we're missing something important. This Kaizo, if he's really existing across dimensions, he must have been planning this for centuries. He won't be easy to outmaneuver. Maybe not, Naruto agreed. But we still have to try. They spent the rest of the day gathering supplies and finalizing plans. Rin worked with the research division to prepare specialized seals that might disrupt the ritual energies, while Naruto focused on refining his control over specific noble phantasms that might prove useful during the mission. That evening, as they walked back to Naruto's apartment, which had essentially become their shared base of operations, Rin surprised him with a question. Naruto, what do you know about Gilgamesh himself? Not just his treasury, but the man. Naruto thought for a moment. Not much. Just what comes through when I summon the weapons. He was a king, right? Kind of arrogant from what I can tell. Rin nodded. The oldest hero in human history, 2/3 god, 1/3 human. He collected his treasury because he believed all treasures in the world belonged to him by right. Sounds like a real charmer, Naruto said sarcastically. Actually, that's what I'm getting at, Rin continued. Gilgamesh only acknowledged those he deemed worthy. For the gate to accept you so completely, it's unprecedented. Naruto shrugged. Lucky me, I guess. It's more than luck, Rin insisted. I think there's a connection we're not seeing, between you, the gate, and this divided god that Kaizo is trying to resurrect. They had reached Naruto's apartment, but instead of going inside, they sat on the small balcony overlooking the village, the setting sun painting Konoha in shades of gold and orange. You think I'm somehow connected to this god thing? Naruto asked skeptically. I don't know, Rin admitted. But dimensional magic doesn't work by coincidence. The key choosing you, me being pulled into this world, it's all connected somehow. They sat in contemplative silence for a while, watching as lights began to appear throughout the village. Whatever the connection, Naruto finally said, we'll figure it out. And we'll stop Kaizo before he can finish his ritual. Rin looked at him sidelong. You're very confident for someone facing an ancient being with power over multiple dimensions. Naruto grinned. Hey, I've faced some pretty tough opponents before. Madara, Obito, Kagaya, dimensional magic guy doesn't scare me. You really are exactly like your manga character, Rin said, shaking her head. Is that a compliment or an insult? I haven't decided yet. Naruto laughed, and after a moment, Rin smiled too, a genuine smile that transformed her usually serious face. You should do that more often, Naruto said without thinking. Do what? Smile. It looks good on you. Rin blinked, clearly caught off guard by the comment. Thank you. An awkward silence fell between them, neither quite sure what to say next. Finally, Rin stood up. We should get some rest. Tomorrow will be challenging. Naruto nodded, following her inside. Yeah, you're right. As they prepared for bed, Rin still taking Naruto's room while he used the couch, both were acutely aware of the shift in their dynamic. What had begun as a reluctant alliance had grown into something more complex, not quite friendship, not yet, but a genuine connection forged through shared danger and purpose. Morning came too quickly. They met the rest of their team at the village gates just as dawn was breaking. Sakura greeted them with her usual efficiency, while Sai offered one of his artificial smiles. The two ANBU operatives, codenamed Hawk and Tiger, remained silent and watchful. Everyone ready? Naruto asked, adjusting his equipment. Nods all around. With a final glance back at the village, they set out toward the ritual site marked on their map, a journey of approximately half a day at shinobi speed. As they traveled, Sai moved closer to Naruto. I've been reading about teamwork with foreigners, he said in his typical blunt manner. The books suggest establishing common ground through shared experiences. Have you and Rin-san found common ground yet? Naruto nearly missed his next branch. What? I mean, yeah, I guess. We've been training together and stuff. Interesting, Sai nodded. The books also mention that crisis situations often accelerate bonding between individuals of compatible personality types. Sai, Naruto groaned, is this your weird way of asking if Rin and I are getting along? Yes, Sai confirmed. Is it working? We're cooperating effectively, Rin cut in from just behind them, having clearly heard the entire exchange. That's what matters for the mission. Of course, Sai agreed. Though the emotional underpinnings of cooperation often determine its sustainability in high-stress scenarios. We're fine, Naruto insisted, shooting Rin an apologetic look. Now can we focus on the mission? They continued in silence for a while, moving swiftly through the forest. Around midday, they stopped briefly to rest and check their bearings. We're close, Sakura announced, consulting the map. Less than 5 miles to the target site. Any sign of enemy activity? Hawk asked, scanning the surrounding forest. Nothing obvious, Tiger replied. But that doesn't mean they're not there. Rin knelt, placing a palm against the ground. The dimensional energy is stronger here. We're definitely on the right track. They resumed their journey, moving more cautiously now. As they approached the ritual site, a small clearing containing a stone formation similar to the central temple, Naruto raised a hand, signaling the team to stop. "Something's not right," he whispered. "It's too quiet." Rin nodded in agreement. "No birds, no insects." Sakura activated a medical jutsu, enhancing her sensory perception. "I'm detecting multiple signatures surrounding the clearing. Not human, similar to those constructs we fought before." "How many?" Naruto asked. "At least 12, Sakura replied grimly. "They're waiting for us." "It's a trap," Sai concluded. "Obviously," Rin sighed. "But we still need to secure that site." Naruto thought for a moment, then turned to the team. "New plan. Sai, create a diversion from the air. Sakura and I will approach from the ground. Hawk, Tiger, cover our flanks. Rin, stay in the middle, you're the only one who can disrupt the ritual if it's already starting." "That could work," Sakura nodded. "But those constructs are tough. We shouldn't underestimate them." "We won't," Naruto assured her. He turned to Rin. "Any specific weapons I should have ready?" Rin considered. "If they're similar to the previous constructs, they'll have reinforced outer shells with vulnerable core components. Something that can pierce armor efficiently." Naruto nodded, already focusing on the gate. "I know just the thing." They moved into position, with Sai creating several ink birds to serve as decoys. On Naruto's signal, the operation began. The ink birds swooped into the clearing, drawing immediate fire from hidden constructs. As expected, energy beams shot from the surrounding trees, revealing the enemy's positions. "Now!" Naruto shouted. They burst from cover, attacking from multiple angles simultaneously. Naruto immediately summoned a pair of golden short swords that glowed with an inner light. "Balmung variants," he announced, the knowledge flowing from the gate. "Armor-piercing, dragon-slaying blades." The nearest constructs turned to face the new threat, their arms transforming into blade-like appendages similar to those they'd encountered before. But these constructs were larger, more heavily armored, with multiple energy weapons protruding from their shoulders. "These are different," Sakura called, dodging an energy blast while delivering a chakra-enhanced punch to one construct's midsection. The blow created a sizable dent but didn't penetrate the armor. "Aim for the joints," Rin advised, firing several gem projectiles at a construct approaching from the right. The magical blast struck the creature's knee joint, causing it to stagger. Naruto engaged two constructs simultaneously, his Balmung blade slicing through their reinforced limbs with surprising ease. When one managed to graze his shoulder with an energy blast, he summoned a circular shield, similar to the Ro Ajax he'd used before but smaller and more maneuverable. "Spalin," he called out, the shield's name coming to him instantly. "The shield that stands before the sun. It can block any energy attack." Sure enough, when the construct fired again, the blast dissipated harmlessly against the shield's surface. While Naruto, Sakura, and the ANBU engaged the constructs directly, Sai provided aerial support, his ink beasts harassing the enemies from above. Rin moved carefully toward the stone formation at the center of the clearing, protected by their combined efforts. As she reached the ancient stones, Rin's expression changed to one of alarm. "We're too late. The ritual has already started." At the center of the formation, a small crystal pulsed with crimson energy, sending ripples through the air above it. "Can you stop it?" Naruto called, dispatching another construct with a precise thrust through its core. "I'll try." Rin removed several gems from her pocket, arranging them in a specific pattern around the crystal. "Cover me. This will take a few minutes." "You heard her." Naruto shouted to the others. "Protect Rin at all costs." The battle intensified as the remaining constructs seemed to realize their purpose. They converged on Rin's position with single-minded determination, forcing the team to tighten their defense. Sakura and the ANBU formed a perimeter around Rin, while Naruto took the front line, summoning increasingly powerful weapons to hold off the assault. Sai landed beside them, his ink supply running low. More incoming. Tiger warned, spotting movement at the forest edge. Naruto gritted his teeth. They were being overwhelmed. Time to try something more dramatic. Concentrating deeply, he accessed a section of the gate he'd been hesitant to explore, weapons of mass destruction. From the golden ripples emerged a bow of incredible beauty, its surface adorned with constellations. Tristan, Naruto murmured, recognizing the weapon. The fail not. A bow that never misses its target. As he knocked an arrow of pure energy, knowledge of the bow's full capabilities flowed into him. This was one of the most powerful distance weapons in the entire treasury, capable of striking targets miles away with perfect accuracy. Everyone down, he shouted, drawing the bow to its full extension. As his teammates dropped to the ground, Naruto released the arrow. It streaked skyward before dividing into dozens of smaller projectiles, each homing in on a specific construct. The arrows struck simultaneously, piercing armor, circuitry, and cores with unerring precision. When the dust settled, not a single construct remained standing. Impressive, Hawk commented, the most words they'd spoken all day. Is everyone okay? Naruto asked, dismissing the bow. We're fine, Sakura assured him, already checking for injuries. Rin didn't respond, her focus entirely on the ritual crystal. Her gems had formed a complex pattern around it, each one glowing with a different color as she chanted something in a language none of them recognized. Suddenly, the crystal's pulsing light faltered, flickered, and then went dark. Rin sat back on her heels, exhaustion evident on her face. Did it work? Naruto asked, kneeling beside her. Partially, Rin replied, wiping sweat from her brow. I disrupted this node, but the ritual energy was already flowing to the next site. We've delayed the process, not stopped it. Still, that's something, Sakura offered encouragingly. Naruto helped Rin to her feet. You okay? I'll be fine, she assured him, though she leaned against him momentarily before straightening. But we need to report back to Lady Tsunade. Kaizo is moving faster than we anticipated. As they gathered their equipment and prepared to depart, none of them noticed the small metallic orb hovering high above the clearing, recording everything that had transpired. Miles away, Kaizo watched the battle through Miyuki's eyes, his expression betraying neither disappointment nor concern. They disrupted the node, Miyuki reported. As you predicted. And in doing so, revealed much about their capabilities, Kaizo nodded. The vessel's control over the gate is progressing nicely. And the Tohsaka girl? He smiled slightly. Her adaptation to this world's energies is even better than I hoped. Shall I proceed with the next phase, Master? Yes, Kaizo confirmed. It's time for a more personal approach. You know what to do. Miyuki bowed and departed, her form already shifting to her prepared disguise. Kaizo turned his attention back to the ritual array before him, a complex pattern of symbols and energies spanning both physical space and dimensional boundaries. 6 points glowed brightly, with one now dimmed after Rin's intervention. A minor setback, he murmured, adjusting the flow of energy with elegant gestures. The ritual will simply draw more power from the remaining nodes. He placed a hand on the central control crystal, feeding his own energy into the system. The dimmed node flickered briefly before lighting up again, though less brightly than before. They cannot stop what has already begun, Kaizo said to the empty room. The boundaries are already weakening. Soon, the division will end, and the god will be whole once more. He smiled, golden eyes gleaming with anticipation. And I along with it. In Konoha, as Naruto's team reported their partial success to Tsunade, a new arrival was checking in at the village gates, a young woman with short black hair and gentle features, introducing herself as Miyuki Tanaka, a refugee from one of the border villages destroyed in the recent attacks. The stage was set for the next phase of Kaizo's plan. And neither Naruto nor Rin suspected just how close the danger had already come. Chapter 2, Forged in Battle. 3 weeks had passed since their mission to disrupt Kaizo's ritual site. Morning sunlight streamed through the training ground as Naruto stood with his eyes closed, golden ripples forming in perfect circles around him. Unlike his earlier attempts, these portals remained stable, precisely positioned at different heights and angles. Now, Rin called from where she watched, arms crossed. Naruto's eyes snapped open. With a flick of his wrist, weapons emerged simultaneously from each portal, a spear, 2 swords, a war hammer, and a chain whip, all launching toward different targets. Each struck dead center, the impacts so perfectly timed they created a single thunderous boom. Ha! Naruto pumped his fist. Told you I could nail the timing. Rin tried to maintain her serious expression, but a small smile broke through. Fine. Your control has improved, substantially. Substantially? Naruto appeared beside her in an instant, leaning into her personal space with a teasing grin. Come on, that was perfect and you know it. Your precision has improved, Rin conceded, pushing him back with one finger to his chest. Your humility, however. Their banter was interrupted by the arrival of Shikamaru, who looked even more exhausted than usual. If you two are done flirting, Tsunade wants to see us, he drawled. We weren't, Rin started. Whatever, Shikamaru waved dismissively. Just hurry up. It's important. As they walked toward the Hokage Tower, Naruto noticed how much had changed in the short time since Rin's arrival. The village had transitioned to a war footing, with increased patrols and fortified defenses. Konoha's allies had sent reinforcements, Sand Shinobi were visible throughout the village, their distinctive uniforms standing out among the locals. Most striking was how the villagers had come to accept Rin's presence. Initially viewed with suspicion, she now received nods of recognition as they passed. Her work with the research division had earned respect, while her assistance in repelling 2 more construct attacks had proven her loyalty. You're staring, Rin noted without looking at him. Just thinking, Naruto replied. You fit in better than I expected. Something flickered across Rin's face, an emotion Naruto couldn't quite place. Don't get used to it. Once we stop Kaizo, I still need to find a way home. Right, Naruto said, his mood dimming slightly. Of course. Shikamaru glanced between them but said nothing. At the Hokage Tower, they found not only Tsunade but a full war council, Kakashi, Sakura, Sai, several ANBU commanders, and representatives from the Sand, including Temari. Good, you're here, Tsunade nodded. Let's get started. Shikamaru moved to the large table at the center of the room, where a map of the 5 nations was spread out. Red markers indicated known ritual sites, while blue showed defensive positions. Our intelligence teams have made a breakthrough, he began. The ancient texts from the temple have been fully translated. We now understand what the divided God actually is. He unrolled a scroll containing illustrations of a massive, multi-armed figure with 2 faces, one serene, one savage. According to the texts, this entity existed before the separation of dimensions. It wasn't just powerful, it was the living embodiment of the boundary between realities. During a conflict that predates written history, it was deliberately split, with fragments scattered across multiple dimensions to prevent it from ever reforming. And Kaizo wants to put it back together, Naruto concluded. Why? Power, Kakashi suggested. The texts say whoever controls the reunified entity would essentially become a god themselves, able to reshape reality at will. It's more than that, Rin interjected, studying the illustrations with growing concern. These markings, they're identical to certain magical circuits in my world. Specifically, those belonging to the oldest mage families. She pointed to symbols around the figure's wrists. These represent dimensional anchors, the ability to exist in multiple planes simultaneously. Like Kaizo himself, Sakura realized. Exactly, Rin nodded. I think Kaizo isn't just trying to resurrect this entity, I think he's a fragment of it. He's trying to make himself whole again. A heavy silence fell over the room as the implications sank in. That would explain his ability to manipulate both chakra and magecraft, Tsunade said finally. And his intimate knowledge of both our worlds. But where does the Gate of Babylon fit in? Naruto asked, unconsciously touching his chest where the key had disappeared. And why target us specifically? Shikamaru pointed to another section of the scroll. According to this, the ritual requires two key components, a vessel of sacrifice, to contain the reunified power, and a key between worlds to unlock the dimensional barriers. Naruto and Rin exchanged alarmed glances. The key of the king's law, Rin whispered. It's not just a noble phantasm, it's literally a key between dimensions. And I'm supposed to be the sacrifice, Naruto concluded grimly. Great. This actually gives us an advantage, Kakashi pointed out. Kaizo needs you both alive and intact for the ritual to succeed. For now, Tsunade agreed. But we can't rely on that protection indefinitely. The translations also mention a point of no return. Once the ritual reaches its final stage, the vessel becomes expendable. The sacrifice is consumed as the god takes physical form. So we need to stop him before that happens, Naruto said firmly. Where is he now? Shikamaru gestured to the map again. That's the problem. Despite disrupting that ritual site 3 weeks ago, the dimensional disturbances have actually increased. We've detected activity at all 7 nodes simultaneously, but no sign of Kaizo himself. He's coordinating remotely, Temari suggested. Probably using those constructs as proxies. Or he exists in multiple places at once, Rin countered. If he truly is a fragment of this divided god, physical location might not mean the same thing to him as it does to us. Tsunade straightened, reaching a decision. We need more information. Our scouts report unusual activity near the original temple, energy patterns similar to those before your arrival, Rin. I'm sending a team to investigate. Let me guess, Naruto said, already knowing the answer. That would be us. Not just you, Tsunade corrected. This is too important for a small team. Naruto, Rin, Shikamaru, and Sakura will lead the mission, with Sai providing aerial reconnaissance. You'll also have a squad of ANBU and Sand Shinobi as backup. When do we leave? Sakura asked. Tomorrow morning, Tsunade replied. The dimensional fluctuations follow a cycle. Our researchers predict the next major surge in approximately 36 hours. That's your window. As the meeting concluded and assignments were distributed, a young woman approached their group. Naruto recognized her as Miyuki Tanaka, a refugee who'd arrived in the village shortly after their last mission. She'd quickly made herself useful in the research division, working alongside Rin and the others. Excuse me, she said politely. Rin-san, I've completed those energy resonance calculations you requested. Already? Rin looked impressed. That was fast. Miyuki smiled modestly. I work efficiently when motivated. And this situation certainly provides motivation. No kidding, Naruto agreed. Thanks for your help, Miyuki. Every bit of information helps. I'm happy to contribute, she replied, handing a folder to Rin. These findings might help identify the energy signature of Kaizo's constructs before they attack. Early warning could save lives. Brilliant, Rin murmured, already flipping through the calculations. This actually confirms my theory about the dimensional resonance patterns. With this, we might be able to create a detection barrier around the village. I had the same thought, Miyuki nodded. I've already spoken with the barrier team about implementation. Shikamaru raised an eyebrow. Impressive initiative for someone who just arrived in Konoha. Something flashed in Miyuki's eyes, so quickly Naruto almost missed it, before she lowered her gaze respectfully. My village was destroyed by those things. I don't want anyone else to suffer the same fate. Of course, Shikamaru nodded, though Naruto noticed his expression remained thoughtful. As they left the Hokage Tower, Naruto fell into step beside Rin, who was still absorbed in Miyuki's calculations. "Those look complicated," he commented. "They are," Rin confirmed without looking up. "Miyuki has an extraordinary grasp of magical theory for someone from this world. These equations bridge the gap between magecraft and chakra in ways I hadn't considered." "Is that suspicious?" Naruto asked quietly. Rin finally glanced up, meeting his eyes. "I've been wondering the same thing. Her knowledge is unusually specific. But then again, this world has its own magical traditions. Maybe she's just especially talented." "Maybe," Naruto agreed, though he couldn't shake a nagging feeling. Still, Shikamaru seemed concerned. "Shikamaru is concerned about everything," Rin pointed out. "It's practically his defining characteristic." That earned a laugh from Naruto. "True enough. So what's the plan for tonight? More training?" Rin shook her head, closing the folder. "Actually, I need to prepare some specialized equipment for tomorrow's mission. Those calculations gave me an idea for a detection apparatus that might help us track dimensional breaches more accurately." "Need any help?" Naruto offered. "From you?" Rin raised an eyebrow. "With delicate magical instruments?" "Hey, I've gotten a lot better with control," Naruto protested. "Besides, two heads are better than one, right?" Rin seemed about to refuse, then relented. "Fine. You can help carry things, at least. Meet me at the research lab in an hour. And please, for the love of all that's magical, don't touch anything unless I specifically ask you to." "Yes, ma'am," Naruto saluted mockingly, earning an eye roll from Rin before they parted ways. An hour later, Naruto arrived at the research division to find Rin already deeply engaged in her work. She had commandeered an entire section of the lab, with various instruments, gemstones, and scrolls spread across multiple tables. Right on time, she noted without looking up from a complex array she was constructing. "Grab those crystals from the shelf, the blue ones." For the next several hours, Naruto assisted as directed, fetching materials, holding components in place, and occasionally offering suggestions that Rin usually dismissed before reluctantly implementing some version of them. Despite her initial skepticism, they worked well together, falling into a natural rhythm. "Hold this steady," Rin instructed, carefully aligning a crystal within a circular frame. "If it shifts even slightly, the entire calibration will be ruined." Naruto held the delicate instrument with surprising gentleness, watching as Rin's fingers danced over its surface, inscribing tiny symbols with precision. "You know," he said conversationally, "you never really talk about your home. What's it like? Your Fuyuki city?" Rin's hands paused momentarily before resuming their work. "It's modern. Much more technologically advanced than here. Tall buildings, cars, electricity everywhere." "Sounds amazing," Naruto said. "No ninja though, right?" "No ninja," Rin confirmed with a small smile. "Just mages hiding in plain sight among ordinary humans who have no idea magic exists." "That sounds lonely," Naruto observed. "At least here, everyone knows what chakra is, even if they can't all use it." Rin considered this. "I never thought of it that way. But yes, I suppose it is somewhat isolating. Mage families tend to keep to themselves, guarding their secrets." "What about your family?" Naruto asked, then immediately regretted it when Rin's expression darkened. "My parents are dead," she said flatly. "My father died in the previous Holy Grail War when I was a child. My mother, after that." "I'm sorry," Naruto said quietly. "I never knew my parents either. They died the day I was born, sealing the nine tails inside me." Rin looked up from her work, really looking at him. "I knew that from the manga, but hearing you say it, it's different." "Real?" "Yeah, well, it's my life," Naruto shrugged, trying to keep his tone light. But I found other people, Araka-sensei, Kakashi-sensei, Jiraiya, my friends. They became my family. I had my guardian, Kirai, Rin said after a moment. Though our relationship was complicated. And my sister, though we were separated after our parents died. You have a sister? Naruto perked up. You never mentioned her before. Sakura, Rin said, a softness entering her voice. She was adopted by another family. We reconnected, eventually. Sakura, huh? Naruto grinned. Weird coincidence. The universe seems full of those lately, Rin agreed dryly. They worked in comfortable silence for a while longer before Rin finally sat back, examining their creation with satisfaction. There. It's finished. The device looked like a compass, but instead of a needle, it contained a floating crystal surrounded by concentric rings of smaller gems. The entire apparatus was housed in an ornate brass case inscribed with symbols from both magical traditions. What exactly does it do? Naruto asked. It detects dimensional disturbances, Rin explained, carefully placing the device in a protective case. But more importantly, it can distinguish between natural fluctuations and deliberately created breaches. It should lead us directly to Kaizo's next target. Nice, Naruto nodded appreciatively. See? I knew my help would be valuable. You managed not to break anything, Rin conceded. I suppose that counts as helpful. Naruto clutched his chest in mock offense. Your words wound me, Tohsaka. A small smile played at Rin's lips. You'll survive. She glanced at the clock. It's late. We should get some rest before tomorrow's mission. Indeed, without them noticing, night had fallen. The lab was nearly empty, most researchers having gone home hours ago. As they walked back to Naruto's apartment, which had become their shared residence despite Tsunade's offers to find Rin separate accommodations, the streets of Konoha were quiet. Only the occasional patrol passed by, nodding in recognition as they walked. It's peaceful, Rin observed. Despite everything happening. That's Konoha, Naruto said with quiet pride. We've been through a lot, wars, invasions, the Nine-Tails attack. But we always rebuild, always keep going. Your village has admirable resilience, Rin acknowledged. Your world doesn't have ninja villages, but there must be places you feel that way about, Naruto suggested. Rin thought for a moment. Clock Tower, perhaps, the Mages Association. Headquarters in London. Though it's more intimidating than welcoming. My family estate in Fuyuki holds more personal significance. You have an estate? Naruto's eyes widened. Like, a mansion. The Tohsaka residence is modest by mage standards, Rin said, though her slight smile suggested pride. But yes, it's quite large by normal standards. So you're like, rich? Naruto asked, wide-eyed. Land rich, cash poor, Rin clarified. Old mage families often are. Most of our resources go into research and maintaining magical boundaries. Still pretty impressive, Naruto said. The fanciest place I lived before my apartment was the orphanage. Something in his casual tone made Rin look at him differently, seeing beyond the confident exterior to the childhood of loneliness it concealed. Yet here you are, she said softly. Saving your village, wielding one of the most powerful treasuries in existence. Naruto shrugged, suddenly self-conscious under her gaze. Just got lucky, I guess. It's not luck, Rin stated firmly. I've seen enough to know that much. Whatever chose you for the Gate of Babylon chose well. They had reached Naruto's apartment building. As they climbed the stairs, a comfortable silence fell between them, the kind that only develops after barriers have begun to lower. Inside, they moved through their evening routine with practiced ease, Rin taking the bathroom first while Naruto prepared a light meal, then switching so he could shower while she ate. What had initially been awkward cohabitation had evolved into a comfortable arrangement. As Naruto emerged from the bathroom, toweling his hair dry, he found Rin at the small kitchen table, studying a scroll with intense concentration. "More work?" he asked, dropping onto the chair across from her. "Historical research," she corrected. "I've been trying to find references to the divided god in my own world's magical texts. The libraries here had nothing beyond what was in the temple, but I've been remembering fragments from my studies. And there's a legend," Rin said slowly, "about the god who was two. According to Sumerian texts, this deity existed simultaneously in the realm of humans and the realm of gods. When it attempted to fully manifest in both at once, the resulting conflict tore reality itself." "Sounds like our guy," Naruto nodded. "Any mention of how to beat it?" "Not explicitly," Rin frowned. "But there was something about chains that bind across worlds, possibly a reference to a sealing technique. Like what they used to imprison the Nine Tails," Naruto suggested, hand unconsciously moving to his stomach. "Similar concept, different scale," Rin agreed. "The problem is, if Kaizo really is a fragment of this entity, he's had centuries to plan his resurrection. He'll have counters for every traditional sealing method. Then we'll have to get creative," Naruto grinned. "Between your magecraft, my jutsu, and the Gate of Babylon, we've got options he couldn't possibly predict." Rin studied him for a moment. "Your confidence is either your greatest strength or a spectacular delusion. I haven't decided which." "Why not both?" Naruto laughed. "Anyway, we should sleep. Big day tomorrow." As they prepared for bed, Naruto still insisting on taking the couch despite Rin's occasional suggestions that they could alternate, Rin paused in the doorway to the bedroom. "Naruto." "Thank you. For everything you've done since I arrived here. You didn't have to be so welcoming." Naruto blinked, surprised by the sudden sincerity. "Hey, no problem. That's just who I am." "I know," Rin said softly. "That's what makes it special." Before he could respond, she had closed the door, leaving Naruto staring at it with a strange warmth spreading through his chest that had nothing to do with the Nine Tails or the Gate of Babylon. Dawn broke clear and cool over Konoha as the expedition assembled at the village gates. Their group was larger than previous missions, 20 shinobi in total, including specialists in barrier techniques, medical ninjutsu, and combat. Naruto adjusted his gear, checking that everything was secured properly. Beside him, Rin was explaining the dimensional compass to Sakura and Shikamaru. "The crystal will glow brighter as we approach active breaches," she concluded. "If Kaizo himself is present, all the gems should resonate simultaneously." "And we're sure he'll be at the temple?" Sakura asked. "As sure as we can be," Shikamaru replied. "All our intelligence points to increased activity there during each dimensional surge. If he's coordinating the ritual from anywhere, that's the most likely location." As final preparations were made, Miyuki approached their group, carrying a small package. "Rin-san," she called. "I'm glad I caught you before you left. I've made some adjustments to those detection seals we discussed." "Miyuki," Rin looked surprised. "You didn't have to do that. You weren't even assigned to this project." "I couldn't sleep," Miyuki admitted, handing over the package. "And I had some ideas after our conversation yesterday. These should extend the range by approximately 30%. Rin examined the modified seals with obvious approval. "These are excellent. Thank you. Be careful out there," Miyuki said, her gaze moving between them. "All of you." As she walked away, Shikamaru watched her thoughtfully. "What's with that look?" Naruto asked him quietly. "Nothing specific," Shikamaru replied. "Just finding it interesting how invested she is in our mission." "She lost her village," Sakura pointed out. "That's plenty of motivation." "True," Shikamaru acknowledged, though he didn't seem entirely convinced. Further discussion was cut short as Kakashi arrived to give final instructions. "Remember, this is primarily a reconnaissance mission," he emphasized. Gather information, assess Kaizo's progress, and return. Engage only if absolutely necessary. And if Kaizo himself appears? Naruto asked. Retreat immediately and signal for backup, Kakashi said firmly. None of you are to face him alone, not even you, Naruto. Got it, Naruto nodded, though the gleam in his eyes suggested he might have other ideas if the opportunity presented itself. With final preparations complete, they set out, moving in formation through the forest, sensors spread throughout the group to detect any threats. Rin's compass guided their path, the central crystal glowing steadily brighter as they approached the temple. Several hours into their journey, they encountered the first signs of Kaizo's influence, a section of forest where the trees had been twisted into unnatural shapes, as if reality itself had warped. Dimensional bleed-through, Rin explained, examining a tree whose branches seemed to phase in and out of existence. The boundaries are thinning. Is it dangerous? Sakura asked, keeping her distance from the distorted vegetation. Not directly, Rin said. But it indicates we're on the right track. These are spillover effects from whatever ritual Kaizo is performing. They proceeded more cautiously, with Sai sending ink birds ahead to scout the path. When they stopped to rest at midday, Shikamaru gathered the team leaders for a strategy session. We're approximately 2 hours from the temple, he reported, consulting the map. Sai's reconnaissance shows increased construct activity in the area, at least 30 units, possibly more. That's significantly more than we've encountered before, Sakura frowned. Kaizo's ramping up production, Naruto concluded. He knows we're coming. Or he's preparing for the next phase of his ritual, Rin suggested. Either way, a direct approach is too risky. Shikamaru nodded. Agreed. I propose we split into 3 teams. Team 1 approaches from the north, that's Naruto, Rin, and 4 ANBU. Team 2 circles to the east, Sakura, myself, and 5 Sand Shinobi. Team 3 takes the west, Sai and the remaining forces. What's the objective? Naruto asked. Team 1 gets close enough for Rin to analyze the ritual, Shikamaru explained. Teams 2 and 3 create diversions if needed and gather intelligence on construct positions and capabilities. And if we encounter Kaizo? Rin pressed. Signal immediately, Shikamaru replied. No one engages. If he appears, we converge and retreat together. They finalized the details quickly, and soon the 3 teams were moving toward their designated positions. As Naruto's group circled toward the northern approach, he noticed Rin checking and rechecking her equipment with unusual tension. Nervous? He asked quietly. Cautious, Rin corrected. Something feels off. The dimensional energies are fluctuating irregularly. Is that bad? It's unexpected, Rin said, which Naruto had learned was her way of saying, yes, it's bad, but I don't want to panic anyone. They continued in silence, moving with increasing stealth as they approached the temple grounds. From their vantage point in the dense forest, they could see the ancient structure, now significantly changed from when Naruto had first visited it. The temple glowed with eerie light, pulsing between golden and crimson. Around it, constructs patrolled in organized patterns, these models more humanoid and sophisticated than previous versions. Most striking was a large crystalline structure that had emerged from the temple's roof, a spire that reached toward the sky, where the air itself seemed to ripple and distort. What is that? One of the ANBU whispered. A dimensional needle, Rin replied, her voice equally hushed. It's puncturing the boundary between worlds. Naruto shifted for a better view. Can you see what's happening inside? Rin carefully adjusted her detection apparatus, focusing it on the temple. The ritual is in progress. Energy is flowing from the 7 nodes we identified, converging on this central point. Her expression darkened. It's further along than we anticipated. How long until it's complete? Hours, not days, Rin said grimly. We need to. Her words cut off as the compass in her hands suddenly blazed with light, all gems resonating simultaneously. He's here, she whispered, eyes wide. Kaizo is inside the temple. Naruto immediately signaled the other teams, his hand moving to activate the communication seal they all carried. Before he could complete the gesture, however, a familiar voice spoke directly behind them. "I was wondering when you'd arrive." They spun to find Kaizo standing calmly among the trees, hands clasped behind his back. He appeared exactly as Miyuki had described him from her village's attack, tall and elegant, with flowing silver hair and eyes that shifted between gold and blue. "I must thank you for your punctuality," he continued conversationally. "The ritual requires precise timing, and your arrival completes the pattern beautifully." The ANBU moved instantly, forming a protective barrier between Kaizo and their charges, weapons drawn. "How considerate," Kaizo smiled, completely unfazed by the threat. "But unnecessary. I'm not here to fight, merely to extend an invitation." "An invitation?" Naruto repeated skeptically, already focusing on the gate of Babylon, ready to summon weapons at a moment's notice. "To witness history," Kaizo replied. "The reunification is inevitable at this point. The barriers have thinned beyond recovery. I thought you might appreciate understanding what's happening before it concludes." "You mean before you sacrifice me to resurrect some ancient god?" Naruto challenged. Kaizo laughed, a sound like crystal bells. "Is that what you believe? That I intend to resurrect something separate from myself?" He shook his head. "I am not summoning the divided god, I am the divided god. At least, a significant fragment of it." "And the other fragments?" Rin demanded, her gems glowing between her fingers, ready to attack. Kaizo's gaze shifted to her, something like admiration in his expression. "Clever Tohsaka. Always asking the right questions." He gestured toward the temple. "Some are there, having been collected over centuries. Others are arriving as we speak, drawn by the ritual's pull. And you need me as a vessel," Naruto stated flatly. "Initially, yes," Kaizo acknowledged with surprising candor. "A Jinchuriki makes an ideal temporary container, your body is already adapted to housing immense power. But only temporarily. Once the unification reaches critical mass, a human vessel becomes inadequate." "So I die," Naruto concluded. "You transcend," Kaizo corrected. "Becoming part of something greater. As does the Tohsaka girl." Rin stiffened. "What? Did you think your arrival in this world was coincidence?" Kaizo asked, seeming genuinely surprised by her confusion. "The Tohsaka bloodline has always been special, your ancestors were key to the original division ritual. Their sacrifice created the boundaries between worlds. Your blood is needed to dissolve those same boundaries." "You're lying," Rin said, though uncertainty flickered across her face. "Am I?" Kaizo raised an eyebrow. "How do you think you've adapted so quickly to this world's energies? Why do your gems work so effectively with chakra? Your family has always existed partially in both realities, you simply never knew it." Before either could respond, the temple behind them pulsed with intensified light, and the air shimmered with a massive surge of energy. Kaizo glanced toward it, a satisfied smile spreading across his face. "Ah, right on schedule. The penultimate phase begins." He turned back to them. "This has been a pleasant conversation, but I'm afraid I must attend to the ritual. Please, feel free to observe from out here. The constructs won't harm you, they recognize your importance." With that, he simply faded, his form becoming transparent before disappearing entirely. The moment he vanished, the ANBU captain signaled for retreat. "We need to regroup with the others immediately. This mission parameters have changed." Naruto nodded, but as they turned to leave, Rin remained frozen, staring at the temple with an unreadable expression. "Rin," Naruto touched her arm. "We need to go." He was telling the truth, she whispered. "About my family. It explains so much that never made sense before." "We can figure that out later," Naruto insisted. Right now, we need to. A massive tremor cut him off, the ground beneath them heaving violently. In the sky above the temple, the distortion expanded dramatically, revealing glimpses of another world beyond, towering modern buildings, lights, structures Naruto had never seen before. That's Fuyuki, Rin gasped. My world. The tremors intensified, trees crashing down around them. As they struggled to maintain their footing, a new sound cut through the chaos, a high-pitched whine that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The dimensional needle, Rin shouted over the noise. It's fully activated. Around the temple, constructs were converging, forming concentric circles as if preparing for some prearranged signal. We can't leave now, Naruto decided. If that ritual completes, both our worlds are finished. But Kakashi-sensei said, one of the ANBU began. I know what he said, Naruto cut him off. But look at that. He pointed to the expanding rift. We don't have time to retreat and return with reinforcements. It has to be now. The ANBU captain hesitated, then nodded sharply. What's the plan? Signal the other teams, Naruto ordered. Tell them to target the constructs, keep them busy. Rin and I will go for the temple itself. That's suicide, the captain protested. Not with this, Naruto replied, golden ripples already forming around him. From the portals emerged several weapons unlike any he'd summoned before, not blades or spears, but strange devices glowing with inner light. What are those? Rin asked, momentarily distracted from the chaos. Anti-ritual devices, Naruto explained, the knowledge flowing from the gate. Gilgamesh collected tools specifically designed to disrupt divine ceremonies. If anything can stop Kaizo's ritual, these can. The ANBU dispersed to relay orders, while Naruto turned to Rin. Ready for this? Rin took a deep breath, then nodded firmly. Let's end it. They moved swiftly through the forest, approaching the temple from the north as planned. Ahead, they could see the other teams already engaging the constructs, drawing their attention away from the temple itself. There's our opening, Naruto pointed to a section of wall where the patrols had thinned. Ready? Before Rin could answer, a familiar voice called from nearby. Wait. Take me with you. They turned to see Miyuki rushing toward them, her clothes torn and dirty as if she traveled hard to reach them. Miyuki? Naruto stared in confusion. What are you doing here? I followed you, she admitted breathlessly. I discovered something about the ritual, something crucial you need to know. Rin's eyes narrowed suspiciously. How did you find us? How did you get past all those constructs? I'm more capable than I appear, Miyuki replied. Please, there's no time to explain. The ritual can only be disrupted from a specific point inside the temple, the original seal chamber beneath the main altar. And you know this how? Rin demanded. From the texts in the research division, Miyuki insisted. The same ones you've been studying. Please, I can help guide you to the right location. Naruto and Rin exchanged glances, a silent communication passing between them. Something wasn't right. Thank you, Miyuki, Naruto said carefully. But we've got this covered. You should get to safety with the others. Miyuki's expression shifted subtly, her eyes hardening. I'm afraid I must insist. Before either could react, her form blurred, moving with inhuman speed. She appeared behind Rin, a slender blade pressed to her throat. Miyuki! Naruto exclaimed, starting forward only to halt when the blade drew a thin line of blood from Rin's neck. Not another step, Miyuki warned, her voice changed, deeper, more mechanical. Master Kaizo was hoping you'd come willingly, but this works too. You're one of his constructs, Rin realized, keeping perfectly still despite the blade at her throat. The most advanced, Miyuki confirmed with pride. Designed specifically to infiltrate and monitor. I've been sending reports on your progress for weeks. Why reveal yourself now? Naruto demanded, mind racing through options. Because the ritual has reached its critical phase, Miyuki explained. Master Kaizo requires both the ki and the Tohsaka blood immediately. Naruto's hands clenched at his sides, golden light beginning to shimmer around him. Let her go. Now. Or what? Miyuki challenged. You won't risk harming your precious Rin. My analysis of your behavioral patterns confirms this with 98.7% certainty. She's right, Rin said calmly, meeting Naruto's eyes. You won't risk hurting me. But I will. Before Miyuki could process this statement, Rin activated a gem concealed in her palm. A burst of magical energy exploded outward, engulfing both her and her captor. Miyuki's grip loosened in shock, giving Rin just enough space to twist free, though the blade sliced deeper into her neck as she moved. Now, Naruto! Rin shouted, diving clear. Naruto was already moving. Golden portals opened around Miyuki, and from them emerged chains rather than weapons, glowing links that shot forward with unerring precision, wrapping around the construct before she could escape. Enkidu, Naruto named them, knowledge flowing from the gate. The chains of heaven. The stronger the divinity of the target, the more powerful their binding effect. Miyuki struggled against the chains, her human disguise falling away to reveal metallic skin beneath. This changes nothing. The ritual is already past the point of no return. We'll see about that, Naruto replied grimly. He turned to Rin, who was pressing a hand to her bleeding neck. Are you okay? It's superficial, she assured him, though her face was pale. We need to move quickly. Leaving Miyuki bound and immobilized, they continued toward the temple. The battle around them had intensified, with Konoha and Sand forces fully engaged against the construct army. Explosions and jutsu lit up the forest as they raced toward their target. They reached the temple wall without further interference, quickly finding a section damaged enough to provide entry. Inside, the ancient corridors glowed with unnatural light, pulsing in time with the energy spire above. This way, Rin directed, consulting her compass. The energy concentration is strongest below. They navigated through disorienting halls where reality itself seemed uncertain, sections where gravity shifted, where walls became transparent or disappeared entirely, where time itself seemed to slow or accelerate. Throughout it all, Rin's compass guided them steadily toward the heart of the temple. Finally, they descended a spiral staircase into a vast underground chamber. At its center stood Kaizo, arms raised as he conducted streams of energy flowing from 7 pillars arranged in a circle. Above him, a swirling vortex of golden and crimson light was forming, growing larger by the second. Ah, my guests of honor have arrived, Kaizo called without turning, his voice echoing strangely. And just in time for the culmination. It's over, Kaizo, Naruto declared, the anti-ritual devices hovering around him, ready to deploy. We're shutting this down. Kaizo finally turned to face them, and both gasped at his transformation. His body had become partially translucent, golden light shining from within. Additional arms, ethereal but clearly visible, extended from his shoulders, moving in perfect synchronization with his physical limbs. You still don't understand, he said, almost pityingly. This cannot be stopped. The division was always temporary, a desperate measure by beings who feared true unity. What I do now is simply restore the natural order. By destroying 2 worlds. Rin challenged. By combining them, Kaizo corrected. Yes, there will be adjustments. Not everyone will survive the transition. But those who do will inhabit a perfect reality, one where chakra and magecraft exist together, where humans can reach their true potential. As he spoke, the vortex above him expanded, fragments of both worlds visible within it, glimpses of Konoha and Fuyuki, overlapping and merging in impossible ways. Enough talk, Naruto declared, summoning more weapons from the gate. Rin, now. They moved in perfect coordination, a testament to their weeks of training together. Naruto launched the anti-ritual devices toward the 7 pillars while Rin activated a complex spell, gemstones orbiting around her as she chanted. Kaizo didn't attempt to dodge or block. Instead, he smiled, a terrible, knowing smile. "I was hoping you'd do that," he said softly. The moment Naruto's devices struck the pillars, instead of disrupting the energy flow as intended, they were absorbed into the ritual circuit, accelerating the process. The vortex expanded dramatically, the chamber shaking with newfound power. "What?" Naruto stared in confusion. "The Gate of Babylon," Kaizo explained, genuine appreciation in his voice. "The ultimate collection of divine instruments. Did you think I wouldn't account for it in my ritual design? Every weapon you summon only adds to the process." Rin's spell similarly backfired, the magical energy being drawn into the vortex, strengthening it further. "Your magecraft too, Tohsaka," Kaizo nodded. "Your bloodline's energy signature is the perfect catalyst." They backed away, momentarily stunned by the failure of their attack. The vortex continued to grow, reality fracturing visibly around them. "We need another approach," Rin said urgently. "Something he hasn't anticipated." Naruto's mind raced. If weapons from the gate only strengthened the ritual, and Rin's magecraft was similarly co-opted, what options remained? Then it hit him. "The 9 tails," he whispered. "Kaizo wants to use me as a vessel because I'm a Jinchuriki. But that means the tailed beast chakra isn't part of his equation," Rin realized. "It's separate from both traditional chakra and magecraft." Naruto nodded. "I need to go into tailed beast mode. But I'll need time to gather the energy." "I'll buy you that time," Rin said firmly, already preparing her remaining gems. "But your magecraft, I'll use it differently," Rin assured him. "Trust me." Before Naruto could protest further, Rin charged forward, directly toward Kaizo. Rather than attacking him, however, she targeted the floor beneath his feet, her gems creating localized explosions that disrupted his footing and concentration. "Clever girl," Kaizo acknowledged, the ritual temporarily faltering as his attention divided. "But futile." He gestured, and one of his ethereal arms extended impossibly, sweeping toward Rin like a whip. She dodged the first strike but was caught by the second, the impact sending her flying across the chamber. "Rin!" Naruto started toward her, but she waved him back. "Focus on the 9 tails," she shouted, already struggling back to her feet. "I can handle this." Naruto hesitated, then nodded sharply. Closing his eyes, he reached deep within himself, to the seal where the 9-tailed fox resided. "I need your power," he communicated mentally. "All of it." "This will disrupt your connection to the gate temporarily," the fox warned. "Are you certain?" "It's our only chance," Naruto confirmed. "Let's do this, partner." The 9 tails growled its agreement, and chakra began to flow, not the usual red energy, but a golden light that enveloped Naruto completely. Meanwhile, Rin continued her hit-and-run tactics against Kaizo, never staying in one place long enough for him to launch a concentrated attack. Though clearly outmatched, she was succeeding in keeping his attention divided. "Your persistence is admirable," Kaizo commented as another of her attacks narrowly missed him. "But the outcome remains unchanged. The unification is inevitable." "Maybe," Rin acknowledged, blood trickling from a cut on her forehead. "But its form isn't. You wanted both of us conscious and willing. That's not happening." Kaizo's expression darkened. "A minor preference, not a requirement. The ritual will continue regardless." "Will it?" Rin challenged, a new confidence in her voice. "Look behind you." Kaizo turned to see Naruto transformed, glowing with 9 tails chakra, his appearance altered to something both human and fox-like. The energy radiating from him was immense, pushing against the ritual's flow rather than being absorbed by it. "Impossible," Kaizo breathed, genuine concern crossing his features for the first time. "That energy signature, it's outside the convergence parameters." "Exactly," Naruto confirmed, his voice overlaid with the Ninetales' deeper tones. You calculated for a Jinchuriki vessel, but not for full-tailed beast chakra in active form. With a roar, Naruto launched forward, moving with incredible speed. His chakra-enhanced fist struck Kaizo squarely in the chest, the impact creating a shockwave that reverberated throughout the chamber. Kaizo staggered back, genuine pain contorting his features. No. The convergence is too far advanced to be halted. We're not trying to halt it, Rin called, having circled behind him. We're redirecting it. She slammed her remaining gems into the central altar, activating a different spell, not an attack, but a channeling matrix. The gems formed a perfect circle, glowing with increasing intensity. Understanding dawned on Kaizo's face. You wouldn't dare. The feedback would destroy you both. Better us than two entire worlds, Naruto replied, forming a massive Rasengan of Ninetales chakra. Rin, now. Rin completed her spell, and the energy from the 7 pillars, momentarily disrupted by Naruto's attack, suddenly changed direction, flowing toward the gem circle instead of the vortex above. No. Kaizo lunged toward her, but Naruto intercepted, driving the Rasengan into his chest. The impact was catastrophic. Kaizo's partially ascended form shattered like glass, fragments of light and matter scattering across the chamber. Yet even as his physical form disintegrated, his voice continued, now coming from the vortex itself. Fools! I am not merely in this body, I am in the very fabric of the convergence. You've only accelerated the process. Indeed, despite Kaizo's apparent destruction, the vortex continued to grow, now drawing energy directly from the gem circle Rin had created. The chamber began to collapse around them, reality itself buckling under the strain. It's not working. Rin shouted over the deafening roar of energy. The convergence is too far advanced. Naruto looked up at the swirling vortex, then back at Rin, a decision forming in his mind. There's one thing we haven't tried. What? The key itself, Naruto said, placing a hand on his chest where the key of the king's law had disappeared. If it's really a key between worlds, then maybe it can lock those worlds apart again. But how? Rin asked. It's merged with you. Naruto met her eyes, his expression resolute. Then I go into the convergence point directly. Use myself as the seal. That's suicide. Rin protested, grabbing his arm. You'd be torn apart between dimensions. Maybe not, Naruto said. If I maintain tailed beast mode, I might survive long enough to reactivate the key. It's too dangerous, Rin insisted, her grip tightening. There has to be another way. Another violent tremor shook the chamber, pieces of ceiling crashing down around them. The vortex had grown to fill almost the entire upper half of the room, reality visibly tearing at its edges. There's no time for another option, Naruto said gently. I have to try. Then I'm coming with you, Rin declared, her expression brooking no argument. You said it yourself, the key responds to intent. If Kaizo needed both of us for the ritual, maybe both of us are needed to reverse it. Naruto wanted to refuse, to protect her from the risk, but the determination in her eyes told him it would be futile. Besides, she was right, if anyone understood the magical theory behind what they were attempting, it was Rin. All right, he agreed. Together. Maintaining his tailed beast form, Naruto wrapped an arm around Rin's waist, drawing her close. Hold on tight. This is gonna be rough. Rin nodded, bracing herself against him. On 3? On 3, Naruto confirmed. 1. 2. Rin continued. 3, they shouted together as Naruto launched them upward, directly into the heart of the convergence vortex. The sensation was indescribable, like being simultaneously compressed and expanded, frozen and burned, torn apart and reconstructed molecule by molecule. Colors and sounds that had no right to exist assaulted their senses, while gravity seemed to pull from every direction at once. Through it all, Naruto maintained his grip on Rin, the Nine-Tails chakra forming a protective cocoon around them both. At the vortex's center, they found themselves suspended in a void where fragments of both worlds swirled chaotically, buildings from Fuyuki alongside trees from the land of fire, vehicles and technology mixed with ninja tools and chakra constructs. And there was Kaizo, or what remained of him. No longer humanoid, he had become a shifting mass of light and energy, with countless faces and limbs appearing and disappearing throughout his form. You cannot stop the convergence, his voice boomed from everywhere and nowhere. But you can be part of it. Join me. Become gods of the new unified world. Not interested, Naruto called back, focusing on the energy he could feel within his chest, the key of the king's law, responding to the dimensional chaos around them. We're here to fix what you broke. Fix. Kaizo laughed, the sound distorting reality further. I am healing the original wound. Reuniting what should never have been separated. At the cost of countless lives, Rin shouted. That's not healing, it's conquest. Naruto could feel the key's energy building within him, responding to his intent. Yet something was missing, it wasn't enough to simply activate it. They needed to direct it somehow. Rin, he said urgently, I can feel the key, but I don't know how to use it properly. It needs a pattern, a structure. Understanding flashed across Rin's face. A magic circuit. She placed her hand over his heart. Let me try something. Focusing her remaining magical energy, Rin began tracing complex patterns against Naruto's chest, her fingertips glowing with blue light. As she worked, Naruto could feel the key's energy aligning with her magic, becoming more focused, more directed. It's working, he whispered. Keep going. Kaizo sensed what they were attempting. His amorphous form surged toward them, thousands of ethereal hands reaching to separate them. No, he roared. The key is mine. It has always been mine. Naruto strengthened the Nine-Tails chakra barrier, keeping Kaizo at bay while Rin continued her work. The effort was tremendous, sweat pouring down his face as he fought against the overwhelming pressure of the convergence. Almost there, Rin gritted out, her own strength clearly fading. Just need to complete the circuit. With a final gesture, she pressed her palm flat against Naruto's chest. Now. Naruto reached deep within himself, to where the key's energy pulsed in time with his heartbeat, and pulled. The sensation was like drawing a sword from his own body, painful yet somehow right. Light erupted from his chest, not the golden ripple of the gate of Babylon, but a pure white radiance that expanded outward in a perfect sphere. Where it touched the chaotic fragments of the converging worlds, order was restored, pieces returning to their proper places. No. Kaizo's form began to fragment, pieces of him being pulled back toward their original dimensions. I was so close. The god would have been whole again. Some things are meant to remain separate, Rin called to him. For the sake of both worlds. The white light continued to expand, pushing back the convergence with increasing force. Naruto and Rin found themselves at the center of a rapidly stabilizing bubble of reality, the chaos of the vortex receding around them. It's working. Naruto exclaimed. But something's wrong, Rin said, her expression troubled. The key's energy, it's fading too quickly. We don't have enough power to complete the separation. She was right. Already the white light was dimming, the vortex beginning to reassert itself at the edges of their protected space. Kaizo's laughter echoed around them, triumphant despite his fragmenting form. You see. It cannot be undone. The convergence is inevitable. Naruto gritted his teeth, pushing more of the Nine-Tails chakra into the key. We need more power. Not just power, Rin realized. We need a sacrifice, like the original ritual that created the separation. That's why Kaizo needed us specifically. Their eyes met, a silent understanding passing between them. Together? Naruto asked softly. Rin nodded, her hand finding his. Together. They faced each other within the fading bubble of stabilized reality, hands clasped tightly. Rin began a new incantation, her voice steady despite the chaos surrounding them. I, Rin Tohsaka, offer my blood and magic as anchor for the division. Naruto followed her lead, instinctively understanding what was needed. I, Naruto Uzumaki, offer my chakra and spirit as vessel for the ki. As they spoke, the ki's light intensified again, responding to their willing sacrifice. The Nine-Tails chakra merged with Rin's magecraft, creating a new energy pattern unlike anything either world had seen before. We forged this bond across dimensions, they continued together, to maintain the separation that must be. The white light exploded outward with renewed force, sweeping through the entire convergence vortex. Where it passed, reality snapped back into its proper alignment, the unnatural merging reversed. Kaizo's fragmented form was caught in the wave, his consciousness once more divided between dimensions. This isn't the end, his voice faded as he was pulled apart. The god will rise again. The division cannot hold forever. The temple chamber reappeared around them as the vortex collapsed completely. The 7 pillars cracked and crumbled, their energy circuits broken. Above, the dimensional needle shattered, raining crystalline fragments across the floor. Naruto and Rin stood at the center of it all, still clasping hands, surrounded by the fading light of the ki. As the final traces of energy dissipated, both collapsed to their knees, utterly drained. Did we do it? Naruto gasped, his tailed beast form fading back to normal. Rin checked her compass with trembling hands. The dimensional breaches are closing. The separation is holding. And Kaizo? Divided again, Rin confirmed. Scattered across dimensions, too fragmented to reform anytime soon. Naruto managed a weak smile. We actually pulled it off. Yes, Rin agreed, returning the smile despite her exhaustion. We did. As the adrenaline faded, Naruto became aware of a strange sensation in his chest. Where the ki had been, there was now a different feeling. Not absence, but a sustained connection, as if a thread led from his heart to somewhere else. Rin, he said quietly. I think something's changed with the ki. She nodded, touching her own chest. I feel it too. It's like a tether between us. Between worlds. Before they could discuss it further, footsteps echoed through the chamber as reinforcements finally arrived. Sakura was first through the doorway, rushing to their side. You're alive, she exclaimed, already checking them for injuries. When that light erupted from the temple, we thought. We're okay, Naruto assured her, though okay was probably an overstatement given their condition. Battered but alive. And Kaizo? Shikamaru asked, entering with several ANBU. Defeated, for now, Rin explained. We reversed the convergence. At what cost? Sakura asked, noting their evident exhaustion. Naruto and Rin exchanged glances, neither quite sure how to explain what they'd done. We'll explain later, Naruto said finally. Right now, I think we both need some serious rest. Indeed, the toll of their ordeal was clearly visible. Both were pale and shaking, their chakra and magical energy nearly depleted. Even speaking required visible effort. Let's get you back to Konoha, Sakura agreed, helping them to their feet. Lady Tsunade will want a full report, but that can wait until you've recovered. As they were led from the crumbling temple, supported by their comrades, Naruto and Rin remained close together, not just physically, but linked by whatever the ki had forged between them during those crucial moments in the convergence. Outside, they found the forest battlefield silent. The constructs had collapsed when Kaizo was defeated, leaving only metal husks scattered among the trees. The dimensional distortions had vanished, reality once more stable and singular. What about Miyuki? Naruto asked suddenly, remembering the bound construct they'd left behind. Deactivated like the others, Shikamaru reported. We've secured her remains for study. The intelligence she gathered over these weeks will need to be assessed for security breaches. As they made their way slowly back toward Konoha, Naruto found himself repeatedly glancing at Rin, still trying to understand what had happened between them within the vortex. She caught his gaze once, offering a small smile that somehow conveyed she was equally confused but not alarmed. Whatever bond the key had created, it didn't feel threatening or wrong. Just, new. Different. Something to be explored once they had recovered their strength. For now, they had succeeded in their mission. The worlds remained separate, Kaizo was defeated, and they were both, improbably, alive. Everything else could wait. Absolutely not. Tsunade's fist came down on her desk with enough force to crack the wood. The sacrifice you two made was already too great. I won't authorize further experimentation with dimensional boundaries. 3 days had passed since their return to Konoha. Though still recovering, Naruto and Rin had been summoned to the Hokage's office to discuss their full report, particularly the unexpected side effect of their actions. Lady Tsunade, Rin began. Carefully, we're not suggesting reopening the convergence. Just examining the connection that already exists between us. A connection created by an ancient artifact of unknown power, Tsunade pointed out. One that nearly destroyed 2 worlds. But also saved them, Naruto countered. And it's not like we can ignore it. We can literally feel it. This was true. Since their return, both had become increasingly aware of the link between them, a constant awareness of each other's presence, sometimes extending to emotional impressions when those feelings were particularly strong. Besides, Naruto continued, if Rin is ever going to find a way home, we need to understand how this works. That gave Tsunade pause. She looked at Rin, her expression softening slightly. Is that still your intention? To return to your world? Rin hesitated, her gaze briefly meeting Naruto's before returning to Tsunade. I need to at least have the option. My sister is there. My responsibilities. My life. I understand, Tsunade sighed. Very well. You may research this connection, under strict supervision. No practical experiments without direct approval, and absolutely no attempts to cross dimensions without a full council review. Thank you, Lady Tsunade, Rin bowed respectfully. Don't thank me yet, Tsunade warned. The council may still overrule me. Many believe any further dimensional tampering is too dangerous, regardless of intentions. As they left the Hokage Tower, Naruto could sense Rin's mixed emotions through their new connection, relief at Tsunade's conditional approval, anxiety about the future, and something more complex regarding her eventual return home. You know, he said casually as they walked, even if you do go back, it doesn't have to be goodbye forever. Not if this connection works the way we think it might. Rin glanced at him. You mean as a communication channel? Perhaps. Or more, Naruto suggested. If the key really did become a permanent bridge between our worlds. That's a dangerous line of thinking, Rin cautioned. Controlled, limited connection is one thing. Actually traveling between dimensions is exactly what we just fought to prevent. There's a difference between merging worlds and visiting them, Naruto argued. Besides, doesn't part of you want to explore the possibilities? You're a researcher at heart, right? Despite herself, Rin smiled. Your ability to frame dimensional tampering as an exciting research opportunity is almost admirable. I'll take almost admirable, Naruto grinned. It's better than your usual assessments of my ideas. They had reached the training grounds where they'd agreed to meet Sakura and Shikamaru for a session focused on their new connection. Since returning, they'd discovered the link had practical applications, allowing them to coordinate their movements and attacks with unprecedented precision. There you are. Sakura called, waving them over. How did it go with Lady Tsunade? Conditional approval for research only, Rin reported. No practical applications without direct supervision. Better than expected, Shikamaru nodded. Now, let's see what this bond of yours can really do. The training session that followed was eye-opening. When working in tandem, Naruto and Rin displayed coordination that bordered on telepathic. They could anticipate each other's movements perfectly, combining their abilities in ways that amplified both. Most interestingly, Naruto discovered he could still access the Gate of Babylon, but with a new feature. Rin could now direct the weapons as well, her magecraft guiding their trajectories with pinpoint precision. It's like the key recognized both our contributions to the sealing ritual, Rin theorized as they took a break. It's granting us shared access. Does that mean you could summon weapons too? Naruto asked. Rin concentrated, focusing on the connection between them. Golden ripples appeared beside her, smaller than Naruto's usual portals, but unmistakably the Gate of Babylon. From it emerged a simple dagger, hovering before her in response to her will. Apparently yes, she said, surprise evident in her voice. That's incredible, Sakura breathed. The strategic implications alone. Troublesome is what it is, Shikamaru sighed, though his expression showed clear interest. This kind of power connection is unprecedented. As training continued, they explored the limits of their new abilities. The connection seemed strongest when they were in close proximity, fading somewhat with distance but never disappearing entirely. Emotions affected its strength, particularly strong feelings could amplify the bond, while conflicted or negative emotions temporarily weakened it. By late afternoon, all four were exhausted but satisfied with their progress. As Sakura and Shikamaru departed to report their findings, Naruto and Rin remained at the training ground, sitting quietly beneath a tree as the sun began to set. This changes things, Rin said finally, breaking the comfortable silence. For both of us. Naruto nodded. Yeah. But not necessarily in a bad way. No, Rin agreed softly. Not bad. Just, complicated. Through their connection, Naruto could sense her genuine uncertainty, not fear or rejection, but genuine confusion about where this development left them and what it meant for her eventual return home. We'll figure it out, he promised. No rush, right? We've earned some time to just, be. Rin smiled at that. Surprisingly wise words from Naruto Uzumaki. Will wonders never cease? Hey, I have my moments, he protested, nudging her shoulder playfully. Their banter was interrupted by the arrival of an ANBU messenger, materializing silently before them. Uzumaki Naruto, Tohsaka Rin. Your presence is requested at the Intelligence Division immediately. There's been a development. They exchanged glances before following the ANBU through the village. At the Intelligence Division headquarters, they were led to a secure room where Ibiki Marino waited alongside Shikamaru's father, Shikaku. Thank you for coming so quickly, Shikaku greeted them. We've been analyzing the remains of the construct called Miyuki. What we found is, concerning. She was more advanced than we realized, Ibiki continued. Not just an infiltration unit, but a data collection hub. She was transmitting information continuously during her time in Konoha. To Kaizo? Naruto asked. Yes and no, Shikaku replied. The primary transmission was to Kaizo, but we detected a secondary signal, one directed to an entirely different dimensional frequency. A different dimension? Rin's eyes widened. Not mine or this one. Precisely, Ibiki confirmed. There appears to be at least one other reality involved in this situation, one we know nothing about. The implications are obvious, Shikaku said grimly. Kaizo may have been scattered, but if he had allies in other dimensions. Then this isn't over, Naruto finished. We don't have enough information to draw definitive conclusions, Shikaku cautioned. But given your unique connection to these events, we felt you should be informed immediately. We're increasing village security as a precaution, Ibiki added. And accelerating research into dimensional detection capabilities. As they left the Intelligence Division, both Naruto and Rin were silent, processing this unsettling new information. The victory they'd achieved suddenly seemed less complete, the threat less thoroughly vanquished. We should tell Tsunade about the full extent of our connection, Rin said finally. If there really are other dimensional threats, our ability to sense and potentially track dimensional energies could be crucial. Naruto nodded in agreement. And we should step up our training. Push the limits of what we can do together. They walked through Konoha's evening streets, the village peaceful around them despite the potential threat looming on the horizon. Civilians went about their business, children played in parks, restaurants filled with dinner crowds, all blissfully unaware of dimensional concerns. They deserve this peace, Naruto said softly, watching a family walk past. Even if it's temporary. Then we'll make sure it lasts as long as possible, Rin replied with quiet determination. As they reached Naruto's apartment building, Rin paused, looking up at the clear night sky. You know, in my world, you can barely see the stars in the city. Too much light pollution. Naruto followed her gaze. That would be sad. I've always liked looking at them, especially on nights when I couldn't sleep as a kid. Me too, Rin admitted. On the roof of the Tohsaka mansion, there's a spot where the city lights don't block the view. I used to go there after particularly difficult training sessions. Naruto smiled at this shared connection, something simple yet meaningful that transcended their dimensional differences. Want to go up to the roof, he suggested. Our view here is pretty good. Rin hesitated only briefly before nodding. I'd like that. They climbed to the apartment building's flat roof, finding a spot near the edge where they could sit comfortably. The village spread out below them, while above, stars filled the clear sky in breathtaking profusion. It really is beautiful, Rin said softly. Different constellations than I'm used to, but beautiful nonetheless. Which one's your favorite? Naruto asked. In your world, I mean. Orion, Rin replied without hesitation. The Hunter. It was the first constellation my father taught me to recognize. She pointed to the sky. Do you have it here? Naruto scanned the stars. I don't think so. Or maybe it has a different name. We call that one the Sage's Staff. They spent the next hour comparing star patterns, discovering surprising similarities and differences between their astronomical traditions. The conversation flowed easily, moving from stars to childhood memories to more recent experiences. Through their connection, each could sense the other's growing comfort and contentment, a peaceful interlude amid the chaos of recent weeks. Neither mentioned the looming threats or uncertain future, tacitly agreeing to simply enjoy this moment of tranquility. As the night deepened, a comfortable silence fell between them. Without thinking, Naruto shifted slightly closer, his hand finding Rin's between them. She stiffened momentarily before relaxing, her fingers tentatively intertwining with his. Through their connection, emotions flowed freely, Naruto's affection and hope, Rin's conflicted feelings and gradual acceptance. No words were necessary, the bond between them conveyed what neither was quite ready to express aloud. Below them, Konoha continued its peaceful evening rhythm. Above, stars wheeled slowly in their eternal patterns. And between dimensions, unseen by either, the remnants of Kaizo's consciousness began the painstaking process of reforming, gathering scattered fragments, reaching across realities, preparing for the inevitable next confrontation. The battle was won, but the war, it seemed, had only just begun. Chapter 3, Golden Victory. Dawn painted the sky crimson as Naruto and Rin raced through the forest, branches whipping past them. 3 months had passed since they defeated Kaizo and closed the dimensional rifts. 3 months of training, research, and growing connection. On your left. Naruto called, golden portals materializing beside him. Rin nodded sharply, dropping low as several weapons shot over her head, impaling the construct that had lunged from the trees. Unlike the earlier models, this one disintegrated into golden dust rather than mechanical components. That's the 5th one today, Rin panted, adjusting the specialized detection device strapped to her wrist. They're getting closer to the temple. Naruto landed beside her, scanning the forest. Any sign of the main breach? Nothing definitive, Rin frowned at the readings. These new constructs aren't just crossing over, they're forming directly from dimensional energy. Like Kaizo is projecting them rather than building them. Great. Just what we needed, Naruto muttered. Let's keep moving. They resumed their pace, synchronized by months of fighting together. What had begun as a simple recon mission had quickly evolved into something far more urgent when they detected massive dimensional energy spikes near the original temple site. Through their mental link, Naruto felt Rin's concern spike before she verbalized it. Naruto, something's wrong. The readings are fluctuating wildly. He glanced at her wrist device. The crystals were pulsing rapidly, changing colors in a pattern they'd never seen before. What does it mean? I don't, Rin's reply cut off as the ground beneath them shuddered violently. Ahead, the forest canopy erupted upward as a massive column of light shot into the sky, half golden, half crimson. The shockwave hit them seconds later, nearly knocking them from the trees. He's back, Naruto growled, eyes narrowing. And he's not being subtle anymore. They changed course, heading directly for the column of light. Their earpieces crackled with Shikamaru's voice. Naruto, Rin, report. What's happening out there? Kaizo's making his move, Naruto replied, ducking under a low branch. Major energy column at the temple site. We're moving to investigate. Negative, Shikamaru countered. Fall back and wait for reinforcements. Sakura and Sai are 20 minutes out with a full squad. Rin caught Naruto's eye, their connection conveying entire conversations without words. They both knew waiting wasn't an option. Sorry, Shikamaru, Naruto replied. We don't have 20 minutes. Tell them to hurry. He switched off the communicator before Shikamaru could argue further. He's going to be furious, Rin noted, though her tone suggested she agreed with the decision. He'll get over it, Naruto grinned. Besides, we're the only ones who can get close to that kind of energy without being affected. The regular teams would be torn apart. This was true. Their connection to the key of the King's Law provided a unique immunity to dimensional distortions, a discovery they'd made during training. Whatever the key had done when it bonded with both of them, it had changed their fundamental relationship with dimensional boundaries. As they approached the source of the light column, the forest gave way to a familiar clearing. The ancient temple, or what remained of it after their previous battle, now sat at the center of a swirling vortex of energy. Unlike the chaotic convergence they'd stopped before, this phenomenon appeared controlled, structured. They took cover at the forest edge, observing from behind a massive fallen tree. What is he doing? Naruto whispered, eyeing the precisely arranged energy patterns surrounding the temple. It's not a full convergence ritual, Rin analyzed, her magecraft senses extended. More like a targeted extraction. He's pulling something specific through from another dimension. At the center of the vortex stood a figure, not Kaizo himself, but something similar. Tall and slender with flowing white robes, its features constantly shifted between male and female, young and old, as if unable to settle on a single form. Another construct? Naruto asked. Rin shook her head. No. That's a fragment of him, more substantial than before, but not his complete form. A projection. The figure raised its arms, and the energy patterns responded, shifting to form new configurations. From the swirling vortex, objects began to materialize, weapons, artifacts, devices of clearly magical origin. He's building an arsenal, Naruto realized. Pulling weapons from different dimensions. Not just weapons, Rin's voice tightened. Look. Behind the fragment, partially obscured by energy distortions, stood 7 crystalline containers. Inside each, a human form floated unconsciously, men and women of varying ages, all connected to elaborate magical circuits. Hostages? Naruto's hands clenched. Vessels, Rin corrected grimly. Remember how he needed us as specific vessels for the ritual? He's found alternatives, probably people with similar dimensional resonance signatures. We need to free them, Naruto started forward, but Rin caught his arm. Wait. We need a plan. That projection is still dangerous, and we don't know what those energy patterns will do if disrupted incorrectly. Naruto nodded reluctantly. Okay, what's the play? Rin studied the scene, analytical mind working through options. I can disrupt the outer containment barrier while you create a diversion. Once the barrier falls, we free the captives and destroy whatever device is maintaining the dimensional breach. Simple. Direct. I like it, Naruto grinned, already focusing on the gate of Babylon. What kind of diversion were you thinking? Rin's lips curved in a rare smile. Something dramatic. You do dramatic well. Say no more. Naruto's hands formed a familiar sign. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 20 copies of Naruto appeared, each immediately accessing the gate of Babylon. Golden ripples spread throughout the forest as dozens of weapons materialized, swords, spears, hammers, each unique and radiating power. Now. Naruto signaled. The clones charged from multiple directions, weapons leading their assault. The Kaizo projection turned, its shifting face settling into an expression of mild surprise before raising a hand. A wave of energy pulsed outward, disintegrating the first wave of clones instantly. Impressive, its voice echoed unnaturally. You've grown stronger, vessel. While the projection engaged the clones, Rin moved swiftly along the perimeter, gems glowing between her fingers as she analyzed the containment barrier. 3 months of research had refined her ability to blend magecraft with chakra, creating hybrid techniques uniquely suited to dimensional manipulation. She placed specialized tags at precise intervals, each containing a gem infused with her magic and inscribed with chakra seals. As the battle raged, she completed the circle and activated the sequence. The barrier shimmered, energy patterns disrupting as Rin's countermeasure took effect. Naruto. Now. Naruto was already moving, having sensed her readiness through their connection. He summoned a specific weapon from the gate, a massive key-shaped blade that glowed with inner light. The Unsealer, he named it, knowledge flowing from the gate. Breaks any lock, opens any prison, frees any bound soul. He drove the weapon into the weakened barrier, which shattered like glass. The projection whirled toward them, its face contorting with rage. Interfering insects, it roared, voice distorting further. You cannot stop what has already begun. Watch us, Naruto replied, already charging toward the crystalline containers. The projection gestured sharply, and the weapons it had been extracting from the vortex. Animated, launching toward Naruto with deadly precision. He responded with his own array from the gate, the legendary treasures colliding mid-air in spectacular explosions of energy. While Naruto engaged the animated arsenal, Rin reached the containers, examining the magical circuits connecting the unconscious captives. Complicated, but not impossible, she muttered, fingers dancing over the control mechanisms. Just need to disrupt the synchronization without harming the subjects. Through their connection, Naruto felt her focused concentration, automatically adjusting his defense to provide her maximum coverage without distraction. This instinctive coordination had become second nature, fighting as a single unit while maintaining individual approaches. How much time do you need? He called, deflecting a barrage of energy bolts with a legendary shield. 2 minutes for the circuit, another 3 to safely extract them, Rin replied without looking up. Can you hold that long? Naruto grinned despite the intensity of the assault. Please. I'm just warming up. He summoned Durandal, the peerless sword cutting through the animated weapons with ease. Each destroyed weapon dissolved into golden particles that the projection immediately attempted to reabsorb. You've learned to use the gate well, the projection observed, its attacks continuing unabated. But you remain ignorant of its true purpose. Enlighten me, Naruto challenged, buying time while Rin worked. The projection's face settled momentarily into Kaizo's familiar features. The treasury of the King of Heroes was never meant for human hands. It exists as a bridge between divine and mortal realms, a collection not just of weapons but of concepts made manifest. Cool story, Naruto replied, summoning Gi-Bulg and launching it directly at the projection's heart. Still using it to stop you. The spear curved impossibly through the air, its curse activating to seek its target's heart. Instead of piercing the projection, however, it passed through as if through mist, embedding in the ground behind. I am not fully present in this dimension, Kaizo's projection laughed. Your weapons cannot harm what isn't holy here. Maybe not, Naruto acknowledged, buying more time. But they can sure keep you busy. He unleashed a new barrage, not aiming to destroy the projection but to occupy it. Through their link, he felt Rin's triumphant surge as she completed the circuit disruption. First phase complete, she called. Starting extraction. The projection's attention snapped to her, finally realizing the true threat. No. It abandoned its attack on Naruto, surging toward Rin with frightening speed. Naruto intercepted, summoning Enkidu, the chains of heaven, to entangle the projection. Though they couldn't fully restrain something not entirely present, they slowed it enough for Naruto to position himself between it and Rin. You'll have to go through me first, he growled, chakra flaring around him as he began drawing on the Ninetales' power. The projection's form flickered, straining against dimensional limitations. Foolish vessel. I exist across realities. If not this form, then another will complete my work. Then we'll stop that one too, Naruto replied simply. While they faced off, Rin worked feverishly, the first crystalline container opening with a hiss of released energy. The captive, a middle-aged man with scholar's hands, slumped forward into her waiting arms. One down, 6 to go, she muttered, carefully laying him aside before moving to the next container. The projection's rage manifested as a wave of distortion that warped the ground beneath them. You cannot prevent the inevitable. The divided god will be whole once more. You keep saying that, Naruto taunted, maintaining his position while summoning more weapons. Yet here we are, still divided, still kicking your ass. Through their connection, Naruto sensed Rin's progress. 2 more containers opened, captives safely extracted. Just 4 remaining. The projection seemed to reach a decision. Its form stabilized, becoming more solid as it drew more energy from the vortex. If I cannot complete the ritual as planned, then perhaps a different approach is needed. It raised both arms, and the energy column intensified, the dimensional breach widening dramatically. Through the expanded opening, Naruto could see glimpses of another world, not Rin's modern city but somewhere else entirely, a realm of crystalline spires and impossible architecture. Behold my true domain, the projection announced. The nexus between worlds, where I have been gathering strength for centuries. If I cannot bring myself fully into your world, perhaps I shall bring you into mine. The vortex began to expand outward, the forest around them starting to warp and distort as reality itself bent toward the breach. Trees twisted into new shapes, earth liquefied and reformed, the very air becoming thick and difficult to breathe. Rin! Naruto shouted. We've got a problem. I see it, she replied, working faster on the remaining containers. 4 freed. 3 to go. Naruto summoned his most powerful defensive noble phantasms, creating a barrier around them against the intensifying dimensional distortions. Outside their protected space, the world continued to transform, becoming a hybrid landscape neither fully of their world nor entirely alien. Your defenses cannot hold indefinitely, the projection stated, confidence returning to its voice. Soon, this entire region will be subsumed into my domain. From there, the rest of your world will follow, more gradually than my original plan, but just as completely. Not if we close that breach first, Naruto countered, though uncertainty crept through him. Their previous method had required Kaizo's actual presence, not just a projection. Through their link, he felt Rin's thoughts racing along similar lines, calculating, analyzing, seeking a solution. As she freed the 6th captive, her mind latched onto a possibility. Naruto, she called urgently. The key of the king's law, it responded when both of us channeled our energies through it. Could we recreate that effect with the gate itself? Understanding flashed between them. The Gate of Babylon existed partly outside normal dimensions, that's why they could access it regardless of their location. If they could somehow reverse its function, use it to close dimensional boundaries rather than transcend them. Worth a shot, Naruto agreed, already shifting his focus to the deep connection he shared with the gate. But what about the last captive? I'll get them, Rin assured him, moving to the final container. You start preparing the gate. We'll need to synchronize perfectly for this to work. Naruto nodded, closing his eyes to better concentrate. Within his mind, he visualized the endless treasury, the countless weapons stretching to infinity. But instead of reaching for specific items, he focused on the space itself, on the fundamental nature of the gate as a bridge between realms. Through their connection, he could feel Rin successfully releasing the last captive, a young woman no older than themselves. As Rin moved the unconscious prisoners to the safety of their protective barrier, she began adding her own energy to Naruto's effort, her magecraft intertwining with his chakra in familiar patterns. The projection observed their efforts with growing concern. What are you attempting, vessels? The gate cannot be turned against itself. Watch us, Rin replied, completing the circuit of freed captives and joining Naruto at the center of their barrier. Standing back to back, they raised their hands in mirrored gestures. Golden ripples appeared around them, not the usual portals of the gate, but something different. These ripples seemed to bend inward rather than outward, as if drawing energy in rather than releasing it. Impossible, the projection whispered, its confidence faltering for the first time. Rule 1 of being a ninja, Naruto grinned despite the immense concentration required. Always do the impossible. The reversed gate began to pull at the dimensional breach, drawing the alien energies back like a tide receding from shore. The projection fought against the pull, its form fluctuating wildly as it poured more power into maintaining the connection to its home dimension. You cannot sustain this, it shouted, desperation entering its voice. The gate was never meant to function in reverse. It will tear you apart. Maybe, Rin acknowledged, strain evident in her voice. But it'll close your breach first. The effort was clearly taking its toll. Blood trickled from Naruto's nose, while Rin's hands trembled visibly. Through their connection, each could feel the other's pain, the sensation of being pulled in multiple directions simultaneously, of existing partially in several dimensions at once. But they also felt each other's determination, the absolute refusal to yield. 3 months of training together, of building trust and understanding, had forged a bond stronger than mere physical connection. The projection realized it was losing the battle. In a desperate gambit, it abandoned its attempts to maintain the breach and instead lunged directly for them, its form becoming fully corporeal in their dimension. If I must be banished, you will come with me, it roared, hands outstretched to grasp them. Naruto reacted instinctively, one hand maintaining the reversed gate while the other summoned a single weapon, a simple dagger that nonetheless radiated immense power. Rule Breaker, he named it, the knowledge flowing from the gate. The blade that severs all contracts, breaks all bindings, returns all magic to its original state. As the projection reached them, Naruto drove the dagger directly into its chest. The effect was instantaneous and catastrophic. Kaizo's projection screamed, its body fracturing along invisible seams, golden light pouring from the wounds. What have you done? It shrieked, clutching at the dagger. Severed your connection to our world, Naruto explained through gritted teeth. Permanently. The projection's form began to dissolve, drawn inexorably into the reversed gate along with the dimensional energies it had summoned. As it disintegrated, its face cycled rapidly through different aspects before settling briefly on Kaizo's true countenance, no longer confident or commanding, but twisted with rage and fear. This is not the end, it hissed as it continued to dissolve. There will always be fragments. Always be echoes. The god cannot remain divided forever. Maybe not, Rin conceded. But today is not that day. With a final scream of defiance, the projection vanished completely, pulled into the reversed gate along with the last of the dimensional breach. The golden ripples continued for several seconds longer before gradually fading, leaving only the normal forest clearing and the damaged temple behind. Naruto and Rin collapsed to their knees, gasping for breath. The strain of reversing the gate had left them drained to the point of exhaustion, barely able to remain conscious. "Did we?" Naruto panted. "Yes," Rin confirmed, equally breathless. "The breach is closed. Completely this time. I can't detect any residual energy." Through their connection, they shared a moment of pure relief and triumph before practical concerns reasserted themselves. "The captives?" Naruto asked, glancing toward where the unconscious figures lay protected within their barrier. "Alive," Rin confirmed. "Stable, but they'll need medical attention. The dimensional exposure will have long-term effects." As if summoned by this acknowledgement of their limitations, reinforcements arrived, Sakura and Sai at the head of a squad of Konoha shinobi, bursting into the clearing with weapons ready. "About time," Naruto called weakly, managing a shadow of his usual grin despite his exhaustion. Sakura rushed to them immediately, medical chakra already flowing from her hands. "You idiots! What happened to waiting for backup?" "No time," Rin explained simply. "Kaizo was extracting people from different dimensions as vessels. We had to stop him before he completed the process." While Sakura attended to them, Sai organized the squad to secure the area and care for the rescued captives. Within minutes, the clearing was filled with efficient activity, medics stabilizing the victims, sensors checking for lingering dimensional energy, communications being established with Konoha. "Lady Tsunade is going to kill you both," Sakura informed them as she finished her initial treatment. "Going against direct orders, engaging a dimensional entity without backup. Saving 7 lives and preventing another convergence attempt," Naruto countered weakly. "Pretty sure that balance is out." Sakura's expression softened slightly. "Maybe. But you're still getting a full lecture when we get back." "Looking forward to it," Naruto replied with a tired smile. As they were helped to their feet, Naruto kept close to Rin, their shared exhaustion creating a different kind of intimacy through their connection, raw, unfiltered awareness of each other's physical and emotional state. "You okay?" he asked quietly as they were guided toward the medical transport. Rin nodded, too tired for her usual composed demeanor. "Just drained. That reverse gate technique was intense. But effective," Naruto noted. "Think we could do it again if needed?" "Let's hope we never need to find out," Rin replied, leaning slightly against him as they walked. "But yes, now that we know it's possible, we could likely refine the technique." Their conversation paused as they were separated for medical treatment during the journey back to Konoha. Only through their mental connection did they maintain contact, sharing wordless reassurance and the simple comfort of continued awareness. "Absolutely remarkable," Tsunade declared, examining the readings from their post-mission medical scans. "The dimensional energy should have torn you both apart. Instead, it seems to have further stabilized your connection to the key." 3 days had passed since their confrontation with Kaizo's projection. After the expected reprimand for disobeying orders, tempered by acknowledgement of their success, they'd been confined to the hospital for observation and testing. "So we're actually stronger now?" Naruto asked, sitting on the edge of his hospital bed. "In terms of dimensional stability, yes," Tsunade confirmed. "Your bodies have adapted further to the strain of cross-dimensional energy. The connection between you has deepened as well, becoming more structured." Rin, seated in a chair beside Naruto's bed, studied the readouts with professional interest. "The energy patterns have harmonized. Before, our connection fluctuated based on proximity and emotional state. Now it's constant, regardless of external factors. Which brings us to an important decision," Tsunade continued, her expression growing serious. "Rin, our researchers believe we've finally mapped enough of the dimensional pathways to attempt a controlled return to your world." The statement hung in the air, laden with implications. For 3 months, returning home had been Rin's stated goal, the focus of much of their research. Now that it was potentially achievable, the reality of what that meant settled over both of them. Through their connection, Naruto felt Rin's conflicted emotions, longing for her home and sister, responsibility to her family legacy, but also deep attachment to the relationships she'd formed here, particularly with him. How would it work? Rin asked, her voice carefully neutral. A controlled, localized breach, Tsunade explained. Using the residual energy signature from your arrival as a targeting mechanism. The breach would remain open only long enough for transit, then seal automatically. And the risks? Minimal, with proper preparation, Tsunade assured her. Your connection to Naruto through the key provides an anchor that should prevent any complications. Rin nodded thoughtfully. When could this be attempted? As soon as you're both fully recovered. Perhaps another week. Another week. The timeframe seemed simultaneously too short and impossibly distant. Naruto kept his expression carefully neutral, though through their connection, Rin could feel his emotional turmoil, acceptance of her desire to return home warring with profound sadness at the prospect of separation. I'll need time to consider, Rin said finally. This isn't a decision to make hastily. Of course, Tsunade agreed, gathering her notes. Take the time you need. The option will remain available when you're ready. After Tsunade departed, silence filled the hospital room. Naruto stared out the window at the village below, while Rin remained focused on the medical readouts, neither quite ready to address the elephant in the room. Finally, Naruto spoke. So. Home, huh? Rin set the papers aside. It's what we've been working toward. Yeah, Naruto agreed, still looking out the window. It is. Through their connection, emotions flowed freely, things neither was prepared to verbalize but both felt deeply. The past 3 months had transformed their relationship from reluctant alliance to genuine partnership to something deeper neither had fully acknowledged. Naruto, Rin began carefully. I need to, you don't have to explain, he interrupted, finally turning to face her. I get it. Your sister is there. Your responsibilities. Your whole life. Yes, Rin acknowledged. But that doesn't mean, she was interrupted again, this time by the arrival of Shikamaru, who knocked briefly before entering with a folder of reports. Sorry to interrupt, he said, though his shrewd eyes noted the tension in the room. But I thought you'd want to see this immediately. We've finished analyzing the captives' testimonies. The shift to professional matters came as a relief to both. What did you find? Rin asked, accepting the folder. They're all from different dimensions, Shikamaru explained. 7 different realities, to be precise. And all with similar characteristics, magically gifted individuals with some connection to dimensional research. Kaizo was collecting specialists, Naruto realized. People who could help refine his convergence ritual. Exactly, Shikamaru nodded. But here's the interesting part, they all reported being in contact with someone from their world who matches Kaizo's description before their abduction. Someone who gained their trust before betraying them. Just like Miyuki did here, Rin noted grimly. Which suggests Kaizo still maintains fragments in multiple dimensions, Shikamaru concluded. Less powerful than before, but still active. The implications were clear. Even with their victory, the threat wasn't completely eliminated, merely diminished and pushed back. We'll need to establish some kind of dimensional monitoring system, Rin suggested, professional. Focus temporarily displacing personal concerns. Something that can detect anomalies before they reach critical levels. Already in development, Shikamaru confirmed. Using data from your connection and the captive's dimensional signatures, we're creating an early warning network. Good, Naruto nodded. And those people? Will they be able to return to their worlds? Eventually, perhaps, Shikamaru said. For now, they're valuable resources, both for understanding dimensional mechanics and for creating countermeasures against future incursions. They discussed technical details for another 20 minutes before Shikamaru departed, leaving them alone once more with the unresolved question of Rin's potential return. We should probably rest, Rin suggested after another awkward silence. Tsunade wants more tests tomorrow. Yeah, Naruto agreed, though neither moved. After a moment, he spoke again. Whatever you decide, I'll support it. You know that, right? Rin met his gaze directly. I know. That's what makes this so difficult. No more needed to be said. Through their connection, each understood the other's position perfectly, the impossible choice between worlds, between responsibilities, between possible futures. The week that followed was filled with medical tests, debriefings, and research sessions. They worked together as efficiently as ever, their professional partnership unaffected by the personal uncertainty hanging between them. If anything, their coordination improved further, the stabilized connection allowing for seamless integration of their abilities. During a training session 5 days after their return, they demonstrated this enhanced synchronization for an impressed audience of researchers and shinobi. Standing at opposite ends of the training ground, they simultaneously accessed the Gate of Babylon, their combined control allowing them to create complex weapons formations that moved with perfect coordination. The applications for village defense are extraordinary, one researcher commented, scribbling notes furiously. With this level of coordination, you could theoretically maintain a continuous defensive perimeter around the entire village. Theoretically, Rin agreed, though her expression remained thoughtful. After the demonstration, they walked together through the village, both aware that time was running short. Tsunade had confirmed that the dimensional return procedure could be attempted as early as tomorrow if Rin chose to proceed. Want to get some ramen? Naruto suggested, attempting normalcy despite the weight of unspoken decisions. Actually, Rin replied, surprising him, I'd like to see the Hokage monument up close. I never got around to visiting it properly. They made their way to the carved faces overlooking the village, climbing to the top where they could see for miles in every direction. The view was spectacular, Konoha spread below them, forests extending to the horizon, the afternoon sun bathing everything in warm light. It's beautiful, Rin said softly, taking in the panorama. So different from Fuyuki's urban landscape. Yeah, Naruto agreed, looking not at the view but at her. It is. Through their connection, emotions flowed freely, appreciation, longing, uncertainty, and deeper currents neither had fully articulated. I've made my decision, Rin said finally, still gazing out over the village. Naruto tensed, prepared for what he assumed was coming. About going home? Yes. Rin turned to face him directly. I need to return, at least temporarily. The qualification caught him by surprise. Temporarily? Rin nodded, a small smile forming. I have responsibilities there that can't be abandoned. My sister, the Tohsaka estate, unfinished matters from before I was brought here. But. She stepped closer, their connection humming with heightened awareness. But our research suggests the dimensional pathway could be stabilized. Made permanent but controlled. A bridge rather than a breach. Understanding dawned in Naruto's eyes. You mean? I mean I could return home without it being goodbye, Rin clarified. Create a stable connection between our worlds, limited, carefully regulated, but permanent. Hope surged through Naruto so strongly that Rin felt it as if it were her own. You'd come back. I'd travel between, Rin corrected. My life is in both places now. I can't simply abandon either. The solution was so perfect, so obvious in retrospect, that Naruto couldn't believe they hadn't discussed it earlier. Through their connection, he sensed that Rin had been considering this option for some time, working through the theoretical framework before presenting it. Is it really possible? He asked, not wanting to embrace false hope. With the key of the King's Law as an anchor, yes, Rin confirmed. Our connection provides the stability needed to maintain a controlled pathway without risking wider dimensional effects. So you go home, take care of what you need to, and then. And then I return, Rin completed. We establish a proper bridge. I divide my time between worlds. The tension that had been building for days dissolved, replaced by possibilities neither had allowed themselves to fully consider. Tsunade will have concerns, Naruto pointed out, ever practical despite his excitement. Controlled dimensional travel is still dimensional travel. Which is why we start small, Rin explained. Prove the concept works safely before expanding. I've already drafted the theoretical framework. Of course she had. Naruto's smile widened at this very characteristic approach, thorough, meticulous, leaving nothing to chance. So when do we start, he asked. Tomorrow, Rin replied. I'll go home, reconnect with Sakura, my sister, she clarified, not your teammate. Settle my affairs. It might take several weeks. And then? And then I come back, Rin said simply. And we build something new. Together. The word together carried weight beyond its literal meaning, an acknowledgement of what had grown between them, of possibilities they'd both felt but neither had fully expressed. Standing atop the Hokage monument with the village spread below them, they allowed themselves to truly embrace the connection they shared, not just the supernatural bond created by the ki, but the deeper human connection that had developed alongside it. Naruto stepped forward, tentative despite their mental link. Rin, I know, she interrupted softly. I feel it too. Their kiss was gentle, exploratory, a physical expression of the connection they'd shared mentally for months. Through their bond, emotions amplified, creating a feedback loop of sensation and feeling that transcended ordinary experience. When they finally separated, both were slightly breathless, their connection humming with new awareness. Well, Naruto said after a moment, his characteristic grin returning. That's definitely going to make the separation more difficult. Rin's laugh was surprisingly free, lacking her usual reserve. All the more reason to perfect the bridge quickly. They remained on the monument until sunset, discussing practical details of the planned dimensional bridge while enjoying the simple pleasure of acknowledged feelings. The weight of unspoken words finally lifted. The next morning found them in a specially prepared chamber beneath the Hokage tower. Tsunade had agreed to Rin's proposal after thorough review, though with strict conditions regarding the eventual bridge's usage and monitoring. The chamber walls were covered in complex seals, a blend of traditional shinobi techniques and magical formulas Rin had designed. At the center stood a circular platform where the controlled breach would form. Remember, Tsunade instructed as final preparations were made, this is a one-way transit only. No return attempt until we've fully analyzed the data from this experiment. Understood, Rin nodded, adjusting the specialized equipment she would take with her, devices to measure dimensional stability from the other side. The breach will remain open for exactly 30 seconds, Shikamaru continued. More than enough time for transit, but minimizing potential bleed-through effects. Naruto stood slightly apart, watching the proceedings with mixed emotions. Though he fully supported the plan, the prospect of separation, even temporary, weighed heavily. As the preparations concluded, Rin approached him while the others made final adjustments to the equipment. It's only for a few weeks, she reminded him softly. And we'll still have the connection. I know, Naruto nodded. Still doesn't make it easy. Through their bond, reassurance flowed both ways, his acceptance of the necessity, her promise to return, their shared anticipation of building something unprecedented. Ready? Tsunade called, bringing them back to the moment at hand. Rin nodded, moving to the center of the platform. The technicians activated the seals, which began to glow with increasing intensity. Initiating dimensional alignment, Shikamaru announced, monitoring the instruments. Targeting Fuyuki City based on residual energy signature. The air above the platform began to shimmer, reality bending inward to form a perfectly circular opening. Through it, they could see glimpses of an urban landscape, tall buildings, paved streets, a world vastly different from the shinobi lands. Breach stabilized, a technician reported. 30-second countdown initiated. Rin took a deep breath, hefting her pack of equipment. Before stepping through, she looked back at Naruto one last time. See you soon, she said simply, their connection conveying everything words couldn't. Count on it, Naruto replied with a confident grin that only partially masked his emotions. With a final nod, Rin stepped through the breach. The moment she crossed the threshold, their connection fluctuated, not breaking, but changing, stretching across the dimensional divide. Through it, Naruto felt her momentary disorientation followed by recognition as she found herself on a familiar street in her home city. Transit successful, Shikamaru confirmed, monitoring the readings. Subject has arrived at the target location. Breach closing in 5 seconds, the technician announced. 4, 3, 2, 1. The dimensional opening contracted smoothly, sealing without disturbance. The chamber fell silent as the seals powered down, their glow fading to normal inscriptions once more. Perfect execution, Tsunade declared, satisfaction evident in her voice. Now we monitor the dimensional stability and await Rin's data transmissions. The others began discussing technical details and next steps, but Naruto remained focused inward, exploring the changed but intact connection. Though separated by dimensions, he could still sense Rin's presence, more distant than before, like a star rather than a nearby flame, but unmistakably there. Through it, he felt her send a deliberate pulse of reassurance. He responded in kind, establishing that their communication remained possible despite the separation. Fascinating, Shikamaru commented, noting the readings from Naruto's monitoring equipment. The connection is maintaining stability despite dimensional separation. That bodes well for the bridge concept. Naruto nodded absently, still focused on the sensation. She made it safely. She's happy to be home, but also already thinking about the return journey. You can tell all that? Tsunade asked, impressed despite herself. Not specific thoughts, Naruto clarified. But emotions, general impressions. It's like, knowing someone is in another room, but still being able to sense their mood. That connection will be crucial for coordinating the bridge development, Shikamaru noted. You'll essentially function as dimensional anchors for each other. The practical discussions continued as they exited the chamber, but Naruto's thoughts remained with Rin. Through their bond, he sensed her moving through her city, experiencing the bittersweet joy of return mixed with the strange dissonance of finding everything both familiar and somehow changed by her absence. Over the days and weeks that followed, they settled into a new routine. While physically separated, their mental connection provided constant companionship. Each evening, they would focus on the bond, sharing impressions of their day and updates on progress. Rin's sister had been overjoyed at her return, though explaining her absence had required creative editing. The Tohsaka estate needed attention after months of neglect, and various magical responsibilities demanded her immediate focus. Yet through it all, she worked steadily on preparations for the dimensional bridge, gathering materials and refining calculations from her side. Meanwhile, Naruto threw himself into similar preparations in Konoha. When not training or handling regular missions, he worked with the research division to prepare the permanent bridge site, a secure facility constructed specifically for controlled dimensional transit. The project gained priority status after further dimensional anomalies were detected, minor fluctuations suggesting Kaizo's fragments remained active, though greatly diminished in power. The ability to monitor and potentially respond to threats across dimensions became recognized as strategically essential. 23 days after Rin's departure, preparations were complete on both sides. The permanent bridge site stood ready, a circular chamber beneath Konoha's new research complex, surrounded by monitoring equipment and safeguards. Through their connection, Naruto and Rin coordinated the final activation sequence. At precisely the agreed time, both began channeling energy into the key's connection between them. In Konoha, Naruto stood at the center of the bridge site, golden light emanating from his chest where the key had merged with him. Around him, technicians and sensors monitored every fluctuation, ready to abort if anything appeared dangerous. Dimensional alignment at 80%, Shikamaru reported. Stability holding within acceptable parameters. Tsunade watched from behind reinforced glass, her expression tense but hopeful. Proceed to Phase 2. Naruto nodded, focusing deeper on the connection. Through it, He could feel Rin performing the corresponding actions in her world, standing in a specially prepared magic circle within the Tohsaka mansion's basement, channeling her magecraft into carefully arranged gems that mirrored Konoha's seal array. As their energies synchronized, the air between them began to shimmer, not the violent tear of previous breaches, but a gentle folding of reality, like a door opening between rooms. Dimensional bridge forming, Shikamaru announced. Structure is perfect. Absolutely perfect containment. Before them, a stable portal materialized, a circular opening approximately 2 meters in diameter, through which they could clearly see Rin standing in her workshop, surrounded by magical instruments and glowing circuits. She looked up, meeting Naruto's gaze across dimensions, a smile spreading across her face. Bridge stabilized, she called, her voice carrying clearly through the opening. All readings nominal on this end. Same here, Shikamaru confirmed, barely containing his excitement at the scientific breakthrough. We've done it. A stable, controlled dimensional connection. Tsunade stepped forward, approaching the bridge cautiously. Rin, can you confirm your status? Perfectly fine, Rin replied. The bridge is maintaining structural integrity without additional energy input. The key is anchoring it autonomously. As theorized, Tsunade nodded. Naruto. But Naruto wasn't listening to the technical confirmations. His focus remained entirely on Rin, their connection now resonating at full strength once more, no longer stretched across dimensions but immediate and complete. Without waiting for further instructions, he stepped forward, crossing the threshold between worlds. There was a brief sensation of passing through a thin membrane, then he was standing in Rin's workshop, surrounded by unfamiliar technology and magical implements. Naruto. Tsunade called from behind him. We hadn't authorized transit yet. Sorry, he replied, not sounding sorry at all. Needed to test it personally. Rin shook her head in exasperation, though her smile betrayed her true feelings. Always impulsive. You knew I would be, he countered, stepping closer to her. I did, she acknowledged. That's why I was ready. Through their connection, each felt the other's joy at reunion, a completion after weeks of partial separation. Around them, the bridge hummed with stable energy, the perfect synthesis of their combined efforts. Over the next several hours, preliminary transit tests were conducted, objects passed through, then animal messengers, and finally authorized personnel. Throughout, the bridge maintained perfect stability, its energy requirements minimal due to the key's anchoring effect. The limitations are significant, Rin explained during the technical debriefing that followed. The bridge can only connect these 2 specific locations, and the key's connection between Naruto and myself is essential to its operation. But within those constraints, it's fully functional and secure. Can it be replicated? A council member asked. Created between other locations or worlds? Theoretically, with similar anchors, Rin replied. But those would require comparable dimensional resonance signatures to ours. The key of the King's Law and our specific connection make this case unique. The implications were discussed at length, the strategic advantages, the research potential, the necessary security protocols. Throughout, Naruto and Rin remained side by side, their reunion overshadowing the technical achievements for them personally. When the meetings finally concluded, they found themselves alone in the monitoring room adjacent to the bridge chamber, watching as technicians continued gathering data from the stable portal. So, Naruto began, leaning against a console. Welcome back. Or am I welcoming myself to your world? This dimensional stuff gets confusing. Rin laughed softly. Both, I suppose. 2 worlds, now permanently connected. Just like us, Naruto observed, the statement simple but laden with meaning. Yes, Rin agreed, meeting his gaze directly. Just like us. Through their connection, emotions flowed freely, the joy of reunion, relief at the bridge's success, and deeper currents of attachment that had only strengthened during their separation. So what now? Naruto asked. You mentioned dividing your time between worlds. That's still the plan, Rin confirmed. My sister understands, as much as I could explain, anyway. The Tohsaka estate is secure, and I've arranged for its maintenance during my absences. And here? Will you continue with the research division? Among other things, Rin said, a hint of mischief in her eyes. I've developed quite an interest in certain aspects of shinobi training. My magecraft combined with basic chakra control techniques has produced some interesting results. I'd like to see that, Naruto grinned. You will, Rin promised. But first, I believe we have something personal to discuss. Their connection hummed with shared awareness, the unspoken but mutually understood depth of their relationship, which had transcended professional partnership or even friendship long ago. Ah, that, Naruto nodded, suddenly uncharacteristically hesitant. The whole feelings thing. Yes, that, Rin agreed, amusement coloring her tone. Unless you've changed your mind during my absence. Not a chance, Naruto replied immediately. If anything, it's gotten stronger. Which is saying something, considering how we can literally feel each other's emotions. A unique situation, Rin acknowledged. Most couples have to guess what the other is feeling. Couples? Naruto repeated, eyes brightening at the term. Rin flushed slightly, her composure slipping. Well, I assumed, given everything. Naruto's smile widened. Rin Tohsaka, are you asking me to be your boyfriend? Don't be ridiculous, she huffed, embarrassment flowing through their connection despite her attempt at dignity. I'm merely acknowledging the practical reality of our situation. Aha, Naruto nodded, thoroughly enjoying her discomfort. Very practical. Very logical. Nothing emotional about it. You're impossible, Rin declared, though her lips twitched with suppressed amusement. And yet, you like me anyway, Naruto pointed out, stepping closer. I can literally feel how much you like me. Through their connection, he projected the full depth of his own feelings, the affection, admiration, and deeper emotions that had developed over their months together. Rin's expression softened as she received them, her own emotions responding in kind. Fine, she conceded. I like you. Despite all logic and reason. I'll take it, Naruto grinned, closing the distance between them. Their kiss was different from their first, more confident, deeper, informed by weeks of separation and the joy of reunion. Through their connection, the experience transcended physical sensation, creating a feedback loop of shared emotion that heightened every aspect. When they finally separated, both were slightly breathless, their connection humming with new awareness. Wow, Naruto said eloquently. That's definitely enhanced by the whole mental bond thing. An interesting side effect, Rin agreed, her scientific demeanor undermined by the flush in her cheeks and the emotions flowing through their connection. A discreet cough from the doorway broke the moment. They turned to find Shikamaru standing there, an amused expression on his face. If you two are finished with your technical discussion, he drawled, Tsunade wants to see you. Something about establishing formal protocols for bridge operation. We'll be right there, Naruto assured him, not the least bit embarrassed at being caught. After Shikamaru departed, they shared a look of mutual understanding. Whatever challenges lay ahead, managing two worlds, monitoring for Kaizo's potential return, balancing their personal and professional responsibilities, they would face them together. Ready for whatever comes next? Naruto asked, offering his hand. Rin took it without hesitation. With you? Always. Hand in hand, they headed toward the meeting, the dimensional bridge humming softly behind them, a golden connection between worlds, just like the bond they shared. Epilogue: 6 months later the training ground erupted in golden light as dozens of weapons launched simultaneously from rippling portals. Each moved with perfect precision, intercepting the barrage of energy blasts fired by the training constructs. At the center of the controlled chaos, Naruto and Rin stood back to back, their movements perfectly synchronized despite the complexity of their actions. Naruto directed the larger noble phantasms with sweeping gestures, while Rin controlled the trajectories of smaller weapons with pinpoint accuracy, her gems glowing between her fingers to enhance their effects. Left side, pattern 3. Naruto called. Without needing explanation, Rin immediately adjusted her defense to cover his momentary opening as he summoned Durandal for a direct assault on the largest construct. From the observation platform, Tsunade watched with Shikamaru and several visiting dignitaries from the sand. Their coordination is remarkable, Gaara observed quietly. Like two aspects of a single fighter. The dimensional bond continues to evolve, Shikamaru explained. They've developed combat algorithms that leverage both his instinctive approach and her analytical precision. Below, the demonstration concluded as the final construct fell to a combination attack, Naruto's Rasengan enhanced by a weapon from the gate, guided by Rin's magical targeting system. Applause broke out among the observers as the training field cleared. Naruto wiped sweat from his brow while Rin adjusted her combat outfit, a unique design that blended her original style with practical elements adapted from Konoha's shinobi gear. Show-offs, Sakura commented good-naturedly as she joined them. Was that last combination really necessary, or just for dramatic effect? Both, they replied simultaneously, then shared a smile at the jinx. 6 months had transformed their partnership into something the village had never seen before, not quite a traditional shinobi team, but something more integrated and effective. Their success rate on dimensional security missions was perfect, their ability to detect and neutralize residual Kaizo fragments unmatched. More significantly, the dimensional bridge had proven stable beyond all expectations. Regular transit between worlds had been established, with strict protocols but increasing frequency. Research teams from both sides collaborated on projects, while Rin divided her time between her Tohsaka responsibilities and her position as Konoha's dimensional security advisor. The council is impressed, Tsunade informed them as they joined the observers. The Sand has officially requested participation in the dimensional monitoring network. We anticipated that, Rin nodded. I've already prepared the necessary specifications for their sensor arrays. Of course you have, Tsunade said dryly. The two of you are nothing if not thorough. After the official proceedings concluded, Naruto and Rin found themselves with a rare evening free of responsibilities. They walked through Konoha as the sun set, comfortable in both conversation and silence, their connection allowing for a unique blend of companionship. Your sister arrives tomorrow. Naruto confirmed as they passed the academy, where young students were just finishing their day's training. Yes, her first visit to this world, Rin nodded, excitement evident in her voice. She's been asking for months. I finally convinced her it was safe. The gradual expansion of authorized travelers had been carefully managed, with Rin's sister Sakura among the first approved for personal rather than professional reasons. She's going to love it here, Naruto predicted. Though it might get confusing having two Sakuras around. I've already warned her about that, Rin smiled. She's looking forward to meeting her namesake. They continued to the Hokage monument, which had become their favorite spot for important conversations. Seated atop the fourth's head, they watched as Konoha's lights came on below, the village transitioning from day to evening. Any word on those energy fluctuations in the land of waves? Naruto asked, referring to their most recent concern. Nothing conclusive, Rin replied. The pattern doesn't match Kaizo's signature, but it's definitely dimensional in nature. We'll need to investigate personally. After your sister's visit, Naruto stipulated. Family first. Rin's expression softened. Yes, after her visit. Thank you for understanding. Through their connection, gratitude flowed, not just for this specific consideration, but for the countless accommodations they'd made for each other over the months. Balancing two worlds required flexibility from both sides, a continuous negotiation of priorities and responsibilities. I was thinking, Naruto began, a hint of nervousness entering his voice, about the future. Our future. Rin turned to him, immediately sensing the importance of whatever he was about to say. Go on. We've been dividing our time between worlds, which works for now. But long-term, we should consider something more permanent. Are you suggesting we choose one world over the other? Rin asked, concern evident. No, Naruto quickly clarified. Actually the opposite. I was thinking about creating a place that exists between worlds, directly connected to both, but separate. Our place. Understanding dawned on Rin's face. Using the key's dimensional properties to create a pocket realm? That's actually brilliant. Theoretically possible, given our unique connection. So that's a yes? Naruto asked hopefully. We should research this thoroughly, Rin replied automatically, though her excitement was obvious through their connection. But yes, conceptually, I love the idea. Naruto's face broke into a radiant smile. Great. Because I already asked your sister to bring some things from your world for it, and Yamato has agreed to help with the construction once we establish the dimensional pocket, and, you've been planning this for a while, haven't you? Rin interrupted, both exasperated and touched. Maybe, Naruto admitted. Just a few weeks. Or months. Possibly since you came back. Through their connection, Rin felt the full extent of his hopes, not just for a shared living space, but for a shared future, a permanent merging of their lives as they'd merged their abilities and worlds. There's something else, Naruto continued, reaching into his pocket. Something traditional from this world, to go with our very non-traditional situation. He withdrew a small box, opening it to reveal a ring, elegant yet distinctive, with a blue gem that matched Rin's eyes surrounded by smaller stones in a spiral pattern reminiscent of both the Gate of Babylon's ripples and Naruto's Rasengan. Rin Tohsaka, he began formally, master of the Tohsaka family magecraft, dimensional security advisor of Konoha, and the most amazing person I've ever met in any world. Will you marry me? For once, Rin was genuinely speechless, emotions flooding their connection too rapidly for verbal expression. Joy, surprise, love, and a deep sense of rightness overwhelmed her usual composure. I know it's complicated, Naruto continued, misinterpreting her silence. With two worlds and different traditions and your family name to consider. We could do ceremonies in both places, or whatever works for, Naruto, Rin finally interrupted, placing her fingers against his lips. Yes. Yes, he repeated, eyes widening. Yes, she confirmed, a brilliant smile breaking through her usually reserved expression. Yes to marrying you. Yes to creating a place between worlds. Yes to everything. Through their connection, certainty flowed, absolute and unwavering. What had begun as an accidental partnership had evolved into something neither could have imagined, transcending worlds and connecting their lives in ways that defied conventional understanding. As Naruto slipped the ring onto her finger, the gem caught the last light of sunset, seeming to glow with inner fire. Above them, the first stars appeared in the deepening sky, while below, Konoha continued its evening rhythm, unaware of the momentous decision just made on the mountain above. So, Naruto said after a moment, joy radiating through their connection, should we tell everyone tomorrow, or wait until your sister arrives? Let's tell Tsunade and our close friends tomorrow, Rin decided. I want to tell Sakura in person. Naruto nodded, then grinned mischievously. Want to bet on how Shikamaru will react? I'm guessing he'll say, how troublesome, but statistically inevitable, they finished in unison, laughing together. As night fell completely over Konoha, they remained on the monument, planning their shared future across dimensions. The Gate of Babylon had brought them together, a treasury of ancient weapons becoming the foundation for something neither had expected but both now treasured beyond measure. Somewhere in the space between dimensions, the fragmented consciousness that had been Kaizo observed this development with mixed emotions. Though greatly diminished, awareness remained, scattered across realities, watching, waiting. The vessels had exceeded all expectations, creating stability where he had sought chaos, connection where he had intended destruction. Perhaps, in time, another opportunity would arise. Or perhaps this outcome was its own form of victory, a different kind of union than originally intended, but union nonetheless. Dimensions connected rather than collapsed, worlds bridged rather than merged. For now, the divided God would remain divided. But the treasures of Gilgamesh had found their true purpose, not as weapons of destruction, but as tools for building something new between worlds. And that, perhaps, was the greatest treasure of all. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.